minute to the deadline. Seconds. 3, 2, 1. Deadline.
Welcome, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I say that because this broadcast is of the Virtual World Diplomacy Championship. Sorry, not the championship, community. We do the championship in January. The Virtual World Diplomacy Community, an online server created in the depths of the COVID-19 pandemic when players around the world had nowhere to play. And so Bill Hackenbrack created this great community on Discord, which, let's see if we got my QR code. Here we are. This is where we play. We play VDL. We play online tournaments, and we have the Summer Classic. This is the 5th edition of the Summer Classic, and we are excited to bring you this broadcast today. I'm Kevin O'Kelly. I will be your host. In a world community fashion, we need to bring in a world community to help me explain the game because I don't know that much about it. I've got NADF champion extraordinaire and Windy City Weasel dominant champion for, I think, the last 2 times you've been here. Is that right, Adam? Adam Silverman, welcome.
It's great to be here, Kevin.
I've got Isaac Jukes. Isaac, I don't know your titles as well because you haven't beaten me in my home city yet. But Isaac is the master of all things Europe and will help us explain the European meta in a couple of the games we talked about today.
Give it time on the beating you in your own city thing.
Well, don't spoil. I'm going to talk about the upcoming NADF DipCon in Chicago in October, but I won't spoil that yet. So if you're traveling over, you have your chance there. Adam, I know, will be there because he's looking for a three-peat like Michael Jordan used to do all the time. So good for there. Upcoming tournaments. So upcoming stuff we've got here. The Boston Massacre is happening as we speak right now, not the literal one from 1770. But we've got Alex and his crew out there hosting the tournament. We will have some coverage of that. We don't know exactly when that's going to be yet, but we'll work on that. So like and subscribe for keeping in touch with things we're doing. The Virtual Diplomacy League also hosted on that QR code. You haven't played that one. It's a monthly played league. We would go from March to December, so plenty of time to jump in if you haven't joined already, with the championship in January. The winners of the VDL championship have gone on to win the DBNI a couple times recently too. So join in that. It's a 6.5-hour game time max, I believe it is. I think it could creep over.
No year could start more than 6.5 hours after deadline, so you could get to 7 theoretically.
Excellent. All right. So still a shorter game than what I like to play. I used to play in Seattle where we would start at 7 p.m. and stop at 6 a.m. When those guys would host out there, and those were fun. But these are a little more tame, 7 hours at the max, so that's good. I think we can get through about 12 years if people are flying. So it is a good amount of diplomacy. If you could jump in, the games are next week, international friendly times as well. I think it's 2 a.m. Central. No one knows what Central is. Not Central Chicago time. So I think that's like 8 a.m. local in London.
8 a.m. UK, midnight Eastern, and then Round 2 is, you're testing me now, I think
Yeah.
10 a.m. Eastern, 3
Yep.
p.m. UK, and then 10 p.m. UK, and whatever that is in Eastern, I think like 4 or 5. And
Yeah.
then I don't know the Australian time zones off the top of my head, but round 1 and 3 are good for them.
That's nice. Yep.
Take, take a
That's
look. Take a look at that QR code, and you'll find a time that works for you. So I
Yep.
think that's the point: is that there's games that work no matter where you are in the world. You'll find a round or two that you can play in. So just check in through the link, and you can see all the times in your own zone.
Thank you. Thank you. Yep. And those are the league games. There's 7 Years War, Tour Britain, other ones that you will find on that Discord server. Those are the virtual ones. I know we're celebrating virtual today, but face-to-face is what Adam and I know started with. Isaac, tell us about some of the face-to-face upcoming tournaments in Europe.
Making me betray virtual like this. Fine. If you have to leave your house to go to a tournament, there are a few different opportunities. You've got the Swiss Championship coming up in Sierre, the 6th to the 7th, so only a couple of weeks away at this point. September, we've got a little bit of a sandwich, because then at the back end of September, we've got the UK Championship from September 19th to 21st in Warrington. And of course, I have to mention EDC, which is November 7th to 9th in Leiden in the Netherlands, because what kind of European would I be if I didn't?
All right. Well, I guess I'll give a quick overview of the Australian tournaments that are coming up, since we could not get an Australian on the broadcast. It turns out that it's like midnight or something there, and they all wanted to get some sleep. I don't understand it, but
Hello, Peter McNamara is up watching.
oh, Peter McNamara is awake. Okay, well, Peter, we're glad to have you on the stream. Hopefully, I can get all of this accurate. But if you want to get better at the game of diplomacy, go play with the Australians. They will show you how it's done. There's a reason they're all on the top boards that we play here in virtual and in face-to-face tournaments. That is a good group of people. They're so much fun to hang out with. I wish I could travel over there, overseas to go there. But if you're in Australia, go play at these tournaments. And if you're not in Australia, find a way to get out there, because they are awesome. There's 2 coming up. Big one at the end of August is the APAC Championship, the Cane Toad Classic, which is being held in Brisbane the weekend of August 29th to 31st. And then in October, there's a tournament in Melbourne that's being held October 17th to 19th. So plenty of great opportunities to play in Australia coming up.
I am going to talk about the North American ones. As I do, though, the big one next summer, World DipCon in Greece. Spiros was playing. I saw his name on the list of participants for the Summer Classic. So book your trip early. I know this one is going to be fantastic. Details in the website here. The big one in North America coming up is in my hometown, Chicago. NADF DipCon, October 3rd through 5th. We'll be having welcome events on Friday, 2 rounds on Saturday, and a round on Sunday. Make your plans. Contact me. The website will be now here below. That is all updated. We are in the suburbs this year. We've been downtown the last couple, but that has changed because we are in October instead of September this year. So we are right by O'Hare Airport. So anyone who's traveling in, it'll be a quick commute. Once you land there, anyone coming into Midway, coordinate with us and we can figure out a way to get you to the site. The other big one in North America is Carnage. David Miletsky has hosted that tournament for as long as I've been in the hobby, and that is now approaching 20 years this summer. So excited to go to that one at times. I have not made it recently. It is on my bucket list to return to. They have their own Discord server. I don't have a QR code for that one, but I believe it is linked in the VWDC server. So please go there for more details on that one. That is the last weekend of October, and all of the upcoming events, face-to-face, virtual, and the rest are all at diplobn.com. There is a schedule section that you can get all of the events. So please don't hesitate to go there. Reverting back to the virtual events, Summer Classic again started. It was summer. There was a winter one that they called the VWDC Championship in December of 2020. It was the first one, and in December, and why it's called Summer Classic here is because it's North American summer. But as Adam has mentioned, we've got a ton of Australians who have come in, and to them, it's not the summer. And the Winter Classic is, I believe, what the first one was called. And so the Australians wanted a Winter Classic, but we didn't want to call it the Winter Classic. So we called it the Summer Classic because they hadn't taken over the online community yet, nor DBN yet. But they don't have anyone on here to defend themselves right now. So this is their Winter Classic when they're all inside and they have come out in force in this tournament. Here is, let's get rid of that banner as well. Here's who we are going to see in action. We're only going to see a couple of the preliminary games, but here is the top 10 by DBNI ranking. I don't know exactly when this DBNI was last updated. My guess is it does not include the Armada, which just completed, probably the early events of the year. So, Isaac, of the Europeans that you see on here, who's been popping out in that circuit?
Basically, all of them. But Micah came in second in the Dutch Championship, and generally very strong virtual player who's been around for a while at this point. Simon, I believe, won the Virtual Youth Championship last year, and also a very strong European player. And Spyros, I don't know. He's doing some sort of event in 2026, but I can't quite remember what it is. Could be anything. Also, very much getting stronger as you play more, because that's how playing the game works.
Adam, I'll leave you with the North Americans. Not as many on here as we're used to seeing.
Yeah, your eyes have to go to Ed Sullivan, who I guess this is probably not updated because Ed had the win at the Armada Regatta in Colorado a couple weeks ago with the big solo as Austria. Really dominant performance there. And, he's coming off, that great tournament. Definitely going to be somebody to watch in this one.
I noticed that you left DBN former Diplomat of the Year, no longer a reigning champion, Jason Massbaum. Is that a Northern California slight?
What can we say about Jason that hasn't already been said? No, Jason's great. It's no surprise to see him in a top list here. He always just plays consistently well.
Yeah.
I certainly would never put it past Jason for having a great tournament. So we'll be keeping an eye on him as well. Justin, of course, plays a lot of games, has gotten a lot more experience lately, has had some pretty good performances. So, you never can count Justin out either.
Yeah, and Jason is moved. He's no longer Californian. He is a New Yorkian. So the Diplo Rats are looking forward to stabbing him. To the Australians, Tenyu, I saw had a good result in this tournament as well. A big, nice score. He impressed us at the Australian Championship, which I think I'm trying to remember who was out with me on that one, but played some solid diplomacy, and we will see if him or Brandon can make it to the top board. We will see. We're going to cover a couple of intro rounds. We've got Dipcast up. For these intro rounds, let's do a quick read through like we would for a preliminary round as usual. I will task the players here. I will task Isaac. Will do this one with you first. Adam, don't throw in too many comments. Save it for the end of the game. But if you see something that Isaac has terribly missed, don't hesitate to jump in. So we've got round 3, board 2. coup, and the birds were named all after board games. If you haven't played any of these board games, I have played a few of these. They are fun. Agricola was on there. Scrabble was on there. Not too many people I know play Scrabble anymore, but I do enjoy it. We are with Jeff Wang in Austria, Darcy Morris in England, Michael Blom in France, Jackson Roberts in Germany, Zoe Cameron in Italy, Karthik Konath, and Jason Gray in Turkey. So let's get to the map. Everything we're not gonna reveal. We're gonna roll right through it. And Isaac, take it away. Let's go quick. Tell me the most interesting moves as we roll through.
That support into Burgundy is interesting because usually France doesn't really feel the need to go for that. They go, I can go into Burgundy if I want. So, but indicative of maybe some FG tension. Bounce in Galicia, Trieste loan, back sea bounce. That's the only move that really stands out to me. Everything else is totally expected for an 0-1.
And
Goodness gracious, have we gotten to the point where Venice to Trieste is something we don't even need to comment on? Goodness gracious, Isaac, come on.
Yeah, I think we have.
Yeah,
I think Venice to Trieste with Rome to Apulia. I think if Rome went to Venice, we would need to comment on
it. Which is sad that that's more of the.
I don't know, man. We don't need to talk about this now, but I'm not, you know.
Join in next week for VDL, Brian Pravel's meta moment that he used to have so often. This could be a whole panel discussion. Into fall 1901.
Oof.
Well, I think this is the thing where people are going to Greece because it's where Worlds is. So I'm guessing those units just weren't going anywhere. But you see,
he didn't go to Greece. It's a joke. It looks like he did.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
No, I'm saying Trieste and Apulia to Greece is for that reason.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay. But you see the Fast Lepanto into Aegean, Romania with the army, but you see Turkey deciding that actually working with Russia, not a huge fan of that idea. And Darcy has his pick of the litter here in terms of who he wants to work with in the West because Munich gets bounced. And so he goes up 2 with presumably E and not E and F and G both vying for his support.
I think it's a good, interesting choice for Jason. I'll just give one quick comment because I suspect that Jason is sniffing out the AIR here, and maybe he's probably thinking like the best way to destabilize an AIR is to put pressure on someone, and the only one who can really put pressure on is Russia. So I actually like the move.
And I believe that's been the way that Turkey has been responding after a miserable couple of years in the standings. So. To the builds, the only thing interesting to me are 2 armies for France and 2 armies for Germany. Yeah. Everything else is fairly okay.
Darcy loves that. Darcy's very happy with these builds, but just even more power there.
Yep.
Yeah. So looks like it's turned into an EF, but at the cost of Norway. So EF versus RG in the West. Get Helgoland and then just continue to advance up, with France deciding also that they're going to take a little tour over to Piedmont. In the West, in the East, I know words. They all run over to the line. This air seems to have stayed formed, with them getting into Bulgaria. It's just an air versus an EF at this point. Nothing really crazy in the moves.
To the fall.
Yep. Lose Belgium. A move to Picardy is interesting. Maybe there was an FG, an EG pivot there that was supposed to happen, but France follows up into Tyrolia. Air continues to air with well, no, air doesn't continue to air. Russia getting support into Bulgaria and Ankara. This is a strong Russian position. Russia going +3. Yeah,
or 2.
3.
3. Bulgaria, Ankara, and
Bulgaria and Berlin because they don't pick up Norway. Yeah.
Throws down 3 more armies. So he built 2 armies in 01, 3 armies in 02.
Yeah.
What do we expect in 1903? 4 armies.
Yeah, more armies, all the armies. 3. Take a shot at Holland, doesn't work. Get into Denmark with Russian support, so everyone's dogpiling in on Germany here. Don't want Jackson alive. And AI continues to try and fight Russia. Although Italy looks a little concerned, given that they moved up to Venice and stayed in Trieste. But they get Smyrna. This might be forming into a bit of an IT, not an IT, a wintergreen. And EF continues to EF.
Juggernauting.
Yeah. Austria gets kicked out of Bulgaria here, and Russia takes Con, and Italy stays in Smyrna. So yeah, this looks to me, especially with that Serbia move, looks to me like a wintergreen. And EF continues to EF, picking up Holland and Kiel and Belgium. So Germany is gone.
So the question here is, at what point does somebody get scared about Carthage, or does somebody get scared about Carthage? Are we okay with Carthage being big as long as the rest of us are getting big? And you got to figure, since France and England are sort of splitting the difference, they've got to either break up or do something about Carthage pretty quick.
Yeah, they got it. Well, England's either got it. Darcy's either got to go into the north, or they got to break up, because the other issue is that all of the remaining growth that isn't in one.
Oh, we lost Isaac.
Oh no.
All right. Well, while he's going, I think he was talking about growth options for the EF, and really, Darcy's most obvious option is to plow into the north, because Denmark, Sweden, St. Petersburg could probably be English relatively rapidly, possibly at the expense of something like Kiel. But if he still has Micah on side, then can push Micah into Munich. The lack of French armies, though, does sort of put some questions as to where France is going to grow long term in this game. So, and I'm hearing from Jason is saying here that Carthage has Turkey and Germany both janissarying for them. Well, not anymore. So we'll see what happens now. All right, let's keep going.
All right, I'll read the orders out. You tell me where I missed out on anything. Bohemia making it into Galatia with Austrian supports. And I wonder if, we got Isaac coming back here. So I wonder if now Russia or Italy will pick up the Janissary. Isaac, what do we think about the new Janissary now that the old Janissaries are gone?
Karthik was so upset that he kicked me off the stream. Who will pick up the new Janissary? I think you're more likely to be angry with Italy than Russia here, because Italy is sort of who you work with in an AI. You've been working together. You've tried to get back together. You have an expectation that Italy will be your ally from the beginning of the game in a way that you sort of don't with Russia. So I think that gives the social advantage to the Russians. And I think positionally it's pretty equal on who you could work with.
Though the move suggests that Austria is collaborating with Italy here, certainly. Sometimes, I agree with you in terms of how people often feel about things, but sometimes people just say, it's the person who stabbed me most recently that I'm most upset about. And
it's usually one.
In this case, it's Carthage, it's Russia, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's usually one of those two. Love the thing that jumps out to me immediately. Gotta love French Romania. That's wonderful. Yeah. French Romania. And yeah, just more continued action against Carthage by EF with a little bit of Austrian help. Although Zoe not really committing to that, just sort of taking stuff from Austria, but seemingly without them trying to stop.
All right, into the winter, Carthage, instead of building all armies, which he had won last turn as well, now has to pull an army. Warsaw seems to be the one there. Darcy slowly building every fleet possible. And
Darcy's built one army in this game.
And then Zoe with two armies.
And Mike has built no fleets.
Yeah.
And we got another army down.
This is Sorry, go ahead.
No. I mean, I guess that makes sense because she's working with Italy, she's working with England. I guess the question becomes, will Zoe let Micah go through Munich so that she can get something, doesn't get everything bottlenecked there. But
Yeah.
I don't know that Zoe has a really good reason to do that.
Yeah, this is just an EG, but the armies are blue. Well, they seem to have de-escalated with Tyrolia and Venice moving away and Piedmont not going anywhere. And Zoe does still seem on board in the anti-Carthic train, trying to get that support down into Bulgaria.
That
And
train is
Darcy-
full, by the way.
Yeah. The anti-Carthic train has no seats remaining because the only other person who can get on it is Carthic. England just positioning for St. Petersburg and Sweden.
Right button. There we go.
Interestingly, Zoe is just back on that turn. Zoe was both working with and against Carthic at the same time because she moved up into Kiel while also supporting France down to Bulgaria. But France gets into Munich as Zoe gets into Kiel, Bulgaria and Con, so a +3 Italy here as Micah moves to Spain, possibly a little bit scared, as Carthic loses St. Petersburg. So yeah, the anti-Carthic coalition continues, and Zoe seems to be its main beneficiary at the moment.
I'm honestly surprised. So this is a really interesting turn to me, especially because of what's happening around Germany. Because the move where Micah goes into Munich, she actually is supporting Darcy, not. Okay, all right, that makes more sense. Because I was going to say that this looks like a great opportunity for Mike to make a move against Darcy. If she's ever going to do it, this is the time to do it, right? Especially if she knows that she's going to walk into Munich with Zoe taking Kiel. This is an opportunity where she could take Holland in this case, take Munich, move that fleet into the mid-Atlantic, build another fleet in Brest, and you're off to the races there, right? I'm not saying that's the right move, but this is the turn where it could have happened.
Yeah, if you were going to stab England, this is when to do it.
Yeah.
Builds another army, though,
I love it.
not to happen. Kind of the alliance play we like in the early round structure. So this board, and we didn't talk about this at the beginning, the tournament is 7 rounds long. There are, I believe, 2 or 3, for North American time, 2 or 3 on Friday, 3 on Saturday, and either 1 or 2 on Sunday, or 1 more on Friday. So you got to pace yourself in these tournaments because you got to play, I think, 3 scores to get to the top board. I mean, you solo.
You don't have to, right? Yeah. In theory, but your first 3 scores count. In theory, if you soloed and everyone else did badly, you could get to the top board with 1 just for the bragging rights.
Yeah. So people are maybe that's influences the style of play is where I was going with. So good alliances early. We've seen that strategy pay off to get to top boards here in the history of the Diplomacy Broadcast Network. So spring 1906, keep it rolling. Kiel's no longer Kiel.
Kiel is no longer Kiel. It seems as though Zoe and Carthic have sort of almost got back together with these moves. Although I imagine Con is probably arranged in this position, and Zoe's committing west at this point, grabbing Tyrolia, trying to get into Munich. Micah does go into the Med though, based on that. So she'll even build a fleet.
I wonder if something broke down last turn with Zoe and Micah, because this just looks like Zoe is making up with Carthic so that she can send some stuff west freely, and that means she knew something was happening that was not good in that side of the board.
Major shift.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. There's the taking of Holland by Micah here. Oh, I guess that's a trade though. That's a Kiel. That's a trade, I guess, of Kiel to get her a fleet.
Yeah, that has to be agreed, right? Because it's just so easy to prevent otherwise.
That's definitely agreed. Yeah, that's definitely.
Yeah.
Why walk out of St. Pete?
And we're clearly not pro Carthage
Well,
either.
I
This
guess
is everything.
the reason you walk out of St. Pete, right, is because the way you're worried about Zoe now, the way you were worried about Karthik before. So you want Karthik able to sort of respond against Zoe and be able to actually sort of put some pressure on from the east, because he's the only one who really can at this point. Nice diplomatic play from Zoe, by the way, moving out of Budapest, still getting that center, but keeping the Austrians around for a bit longer.
Beautiful Janissary play. It's great. It's a really good move.
2 fleets.
Yep. Yeah, they had to come there. Oh, that's what we're doing.
That is a decision.
Where else are fleets supposed to go, right? There's already too many green fleets.
Yeah, we don't like the green fleets. We want to get away from them. But yeah, Karthik just defending. Darcy turning around and immediately walking back into St. Petersburg and taking Sweden. So clearly not as concerned about Zoe as we thought. And meanwhile, Munich gets into Berlin, but costing Munich. And yeah, Micah pushes up into Channel, Mao, Spain. That's really
she's going to walk into London. I mean, North Sea vacated, so she's free convoy to London or whatever, however she wants to take it. So that's actually quite nice. I mean, Zoe's well, I don't know. I guess the Tuscany is not really timid. She could have gone directly to Lyon, but I guess the Tuscany is to make sure that she doesn't bounce and she can get out to TIS. So
yeah.
So this may be good. This may be good for Micah in terms of stabbing your ally, but I don't know that it's good for her in terms of setting up a line against Zoe if Zoe's going to start to plow those fleets back west.
Yeah, this is my PSA. Tuscany is an underrated spot to have a fleet in.
Yeah, it's
because
really
that's that Lyon Tyrrhenian double set that makes it so that you can actually make progress in the Med.
It's the reason why it has to be a PSA is because I feel like France and Italy have had so many solid alliances in the last 2-3 years. You don't ever see the fights. Like opening West was a thing for a long time, and now it's never happening. So top boards, though, you never know. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Nope, no stab.
Nope.
No, I mean, with all those Italian fleets, I wonder if there was supposed to be something that happened where she was supposed to like keep Munich or something like that. We'll never know. But yeah, Darcy walks back out of St. Petersburg. Yeah, Munich into Berlin. Zoe just continuing to nibble up dots.
Yeah, support from Russia and Austria in this up to 13 with 5 pink centers behind and 2 red centers. Wonder what's going to happen.
Well, I think the key here is if Zoe can get herself in a position to hold on to Munich and Berlin, then now we have Karthik trying to help.
Well, I mean, Karthik's just giving us stuff.
Okay, so if she can hold Berlin and Munich, then Karthik can pretty much give her a solo.
Well, what's she at, 13?
Yeah,
I think she only needs to hold one of them.
Yeah,
right?
If he's gonna be walking out of stuff, then he got Ankara, Sev, Moscow, Budapest,
Vienna, and Warsaw.
I don't know that you can get 18 right now, but in another year probably.
Yeah.
Oh, Vienna.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
And Ankara.
Yeah.
So.
But nice keeping Austria alive.
Goodness gracious.
Well, Austria was the replacement Janissary number 3. So you gotta help your partner.
Yeah, when you run out of Janissaries, don't worry, another one's right around the corner.
Well, when you get 18 centers, others don't have as many. So
yeah,
congrats to Zoe. We like to show solos when possible. So congrats on an excellent solo. We've got one more preliminary board to get to, and we'll go with make sure I get winter mail on. We'll start here. I think I gave away some standings on the last one, so don't go back and look. We got one more preliminary board here. These unknown players are new to the DBN family, we've got their handles. Let's see. Emperor Seabass is Austria-Hungary. We've got who is the other one? Germany is I can get that name in there. So we will get Sigurd Eskeland in Germany, and Turkey is KTOS, Katos, in Turkey. So those are the three unknowns that we know. So Adam, since you see Isaac is in Italy here, Isaac's going to keep his mouth shut on what you're about to see unless you absolutely miss something crucial to the game.
All right.
And let's do it.
Okay, so I'm not supposed to comment on Venice going to Trieste, so I'll say that's completely normal. We'll leave that alone. Elsewhere on the board, we actually got that bounce in Burgundy. That's pretty cool. You know, I always like it when France does it from Marseille, right? So they're still in position to go to Spain. So that's a nice move by Christian Brown, whether that was arranged or not. Elsewhere, we've got the Armenian fist bump, so no bounce in Black Sea, bounce in Armenia instead, and your kind of typical bounce in Galicia.
All right, Karsten is in the chat. Maybe you could tell us if Burgundy was planned there or not.
Yeah. Okay, so this is really super aggressive anti-Germany on the part of England, and presumably thinking that France is on board as well because they're convoying to Holland, bouncing the Germans out of Holland. So keeping the Germans to one build. Very nice aggressive play if that's what you're trying to achieve. France gets 3 builds for their trouble. And this is just a dog pile on Germany, it would seem, because now you've got Russia, Austria, and Italy going up into nomads land around Munich and Berlin. So that is pretty insane. Fall 1901. Elsewhere, you've got the fleet, the Russian fleet into Romania. So could this be some kind of a rat type of thing? I don't know. We'll see.
This reminds me of the good old days. France and Russia both getting off to a strong start right away.
Yeah, and so France does waive one of those builds. They put the fleet in the south, which I'm sure Isaac, you were thrilled about, very excited, and the promises of going after England, I'm sure, were completely believed.
Staying silent.
And indeed, well, at least there's definitely more aggressive moves that France could have made against Italy, and those are not made. But this is just a dog pile against the Germans. We've been out in the Helgoland Bight. We're in Burgundy. We're in Munich. I don't know what Germany did to be treated this way, but there you go. I didn't comment that Russia built the Fleet Sev, so this is going to be a lot of fun. The thing I don't understand here is Turkey didn't move to Armenia here, which is something you'd expect to see. I realize that there's also an AIR, so you've got Aegean now, but normally you want to be up there just to be having that extra pressure on Russia. You can always cover Smyrna in different ways in the fall.
And to the fall.
As happens, Bulgaria falls, but that's not much you can do about that. They continue to protect the Black Sea. Russia slips that fleet into Armenia. Germany continues to get absolutely pummeled, but Italy cuts Burgundy, allowing Germany to take Belgium, which is kind of fun. Yeah, nice deal on Italy's part. And we've got France coming down. Thank you very much. We got that army in North Africa, which we all know is a great place for an army. We all know that.
I'll just say, sometimes you do a move and you're like, oh, I don't know if I should do this, but this is one of those moves that I did, and then looked at the rest of the board and I was like, I immediately feel validated in this cut of Burgundy.
Yeah. It was absolutely good. And you've got to feel good about France sending an army to North Africa where, you absolutely don't need an army. So,
well, thankfully, he doesn't have to pull. I thought he was going to have to poll. What was popped in one of the earlier ones?
I
Belgium.
know. I mean, and again, I'll share just a little commentary with the viewers about why I think the army in North Africa is a mistake, and I think people have different philosophies around this, but that army is now stuck there. It's an army in Tunis is generally, it's not helpful that it's in Tunis, but it's basically but the early convoy to Tunis on Italy's part is solving a problem that Italy deals with, which is that fleet gets bogged down and is out of position if you have Turkey moving aggressively against you. It allows you to keep that fleet in the Ionian. In this case, all the army does, it does let you keep a fleet in the Mao, but look at what England's position is. England isn't even in the North Sea right now, right? You don't need that fleet in the mid-Atlantic. But you've just lost Belgium, right? So you really need armies up in France. You don't need the fleet in Mao. And ultimately, if you're going to be pushing through the Med, what does an army in North Africa do except bottling you up? It either ends up in Tunis, which means you don't have the support to go forward against Italy, or it stays in North Africa, which means it's harder to shift fleets around south. So anyway, I'm going to stop there. Karthik agrees.
In summary,
which means I'm probably
Tuscany
wrong,
good, on North Africa bad.
Adam, I was going to say exactly that. You've got Karthik agreeing with you. I don't know.
All right.
Karthik is a master tactician, so we will take his advice on that.
All right. I'm done with that diatribe. Germany continues to get pummeled here. This is really nice. One of the things that I think I'd like to highlight here is the coordination between England and Russia. For everyone who thinks that England and Russia just have to fight over Scandinavia and Germany and all kinds of things, look at this beautiful coordination between the two of them. They are just taking stuff out, taking dots, securing their borders. Really nice play by both Micah and Karsten here.
To that effort, the army is now in Tunis and holding.
I guess Isaac breathes a sigh of relief as that army really does leave Venice and not for Rome. It goes to Piedmont, which is pretty fun. So the Italian, and I guess as a favor for that, Isaac takes Greece, so that's cool. But that's got to be agreed with the Austrians taking Khan in this particular case. So
yeah, it was agreed. It was part of a swap that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, I think the only thing I personally don't, I mean, I like it, but I don't like it because you don't want that fleet moving east. You want that fleet moving west. But I understand that you want to take the dot, and you gotta be growing. So it makes some sense. Turkey is now getting pummeled. Russia gets anked. This is a pretty good turn for Russia. Pretty good turn for pretty much almost anybody who's not Germany or Turkey. But something's got to change because we've got our first two powers pretty much eliminated or close there too.
London to Holland did not order.
Oh, I see. Didn't write the convoy right.
Yeah,
that's why that failed. Okay, well,
Karsten gave us the insight there. So these
things happen, and interesting. So France builds an army in Marseille and does not build the second. Waves the second one. I would have expected a fleet here, but again, you've got that army in Tunis, which is bottling you up and going to prevent you from doing anything useful against Italy at this point, right? So, I probably would have. I'm surprised not to see the fleet Brest here to come around and get the extra fleet in the Med at this point. I think you really do need that, and regardless of what it does with England, also at this point now, England just built Fleet London. Is England about to come down into the Channel themselves? So let's see what happens there.
Yeah, they do.
Yep, and that makes a lot of sense. Especially if you've reassured your ally that no, that's not happening. Now you got a free convoy to Brest, and France is not in good shape here. This is going to be pretty difficult to recover from if especially since you've really just pushed deep into the Med. You're way out of position, and Italy's growing here with Smyrna, but it looks like now the Russians are making their play against the Austrians. We'll see if, I'm interested to see, Isaac, what you end up deciding here in terms of, do you stick with the Austrians, help them against Russia, or do you kind of join in a little bit of a dog pile here to get your next?
No spoilers. Yeah. Let's see what happens.
I do, in fact, make a decision.
Well, not deciding is definitely a decision. Yeah, I mean, I think that makes sense. So, you're going to take your build and roll from there, which I think is okay. And I think that's probably right because you're probably getting some goodwill from Austria by not by kind of staying on side more or less, right? I mean, and that's going to help you next turn. But of course, this is a killer turn for Micah, who's taking Serbia and Budapest, really good position, getting those armies in place. It looks like England is getting Brest. They don't get Belgium because of the defense by France here. But yeah, really good turn. And Isaac, a good turn for you with France pulling back and lots of areas where you can gain at this point. So really sticking it out for a long time at 4 or 5 dots, and now there's lots of opportunities. So be interested to see where that goes. Of course, the Russian position is scary. So we'll see.
I didn't purposely pick these two games because Germany and Turkey both went out in 1903 in both. That's just the way it's been happening recently. We need a resurgence.
Yep.
1904, not 1903.
England convoys to Belgium, lets themselves get kicked out of Brest so that they can retreat into Paris. Here comes the convoy back into Spain, which will allow Isaac to take Tunis back, and Russia continues to pile on Austria. It looks like Italy and Austria are staying together for the moment, which I think makes sense because Italy can't hold anything that they would be to take. So better off helping the Austrians hold what little they can. At some point, somebody here is going to have to do something about Micah, or maybe not. And the only one who potentially could really do anything is probably England, and they're tied up with France. So diplomatically, this is a great setup for Micah. Let's see how big she can get.
Oof.
Yeah, that is tough. So Austria is gone here, huh? Three more dots for Micah, and the French put her in Munich because if you're Christian Brown, why the hell not, right? I mean, so yeah, I think this is the turn probably where Karsten needed to say, okay, I got to go up over the top and at least take a few of those dots. I got to take at least a few of those dots up in the north and hold Micah back. Wow, she is going to be at 13 with 14 plus 5. What with a 5? It was
Vienna, Trieste, Bulgaria, Munich.
Oh, and Munich. My goodness. Okay, so yeah, this is probably, well, I don't know.
What 3?
What 3? I mean, Smyrna's not that easy to take. Greece is probably takeable, but not that easy. I don't know that getting 18 is that easy because of the position in the north isn't that strong. And the question is, does Karsten have the will here to put his units in the right positions to deal with this, right? And you're talking about things like probably Kiel to Baltic, Denmark to Skag. Let Bothnia walk into Sweden, but go up to Baltic, Skag, and Denmark. Go up to Norwegian, that kind of thing. But I don't know. We'll see if Karsten has the will to do it here.
Well, he does, because in the comments, this was not supposed to be a bounce.
I see.
And so Fleet Eddie,
greedy, Mike. I needed that 5th build.
Yep.
Okay, so he does make exactly those moves, this is exactly the right thing. And Christian, though, appears to still be pretty upset here. And if Christian is going to be supporting Micah through the middle, that's not going to help. But on the other hand, like, Micah doesn't have enough armies over there to hold Munich and Berlin and all of that kind of thing. So I don't know how long this game can go for. But I suspect 1910. I suspect that. Well, I don't know. It's going to be tight.
It's only 3. Yeah, it's only 3 English armies, so we'll see.
So Greece is about to be gone. Smyrna is about to be gone. That's 2. Yeah,
There goes Smyrna. There goes Greece.
yes, Greece and Smyrna are gone.
Sweden falls.
Christian really did not want to help the case here. I don't know, Isaac, maybe you can share a little bit. Is Christian just saying I'm taking my home centers back, or is he really trying to thwart the stop the leader thing here?
This is a thwart of trying to stop the leader based upon. I think I took Tunis and Carsten took something at the end of 04 that meant he decided that he was not interested in working with us. I don't remember what it was that Carsten took, though.
Yeah.
Brest, the convoy to Brest.
Brest, probably.
Yep. So Christian does rebuild army to either help the fight or defend the homeland from Burgundy, that evil Burgundy that intruded.
On the other hand, I mean, I played a number of games with Christian. I'm not sure he's going to be so immediate, like I'm going to actively throw. He may just want to get his stuff back, but maybe less. I don't know. You probably have a better read on what was going on the board, but knowing from his style of play, he's not always like I'm going to throw. It's sometimes just I want my stuff. I want you to give me things because you were bad to me, and that's what I'm going to do instead of trying to help.
And the results on that, he wiggles himself back into, competitive and winning positions from that. You just underestimate him. You're like, oh, he's nothing now. And then 2 centers later, it's like, wait a minute. So we will see if maybe they pair it.
Your disband of Rome here is interesting. I guess you felt like you needed those fleets down in the Med, huh?
Yeah, I gotta hold it. I have to be worried about Ionian, and also like the army in Rome isn't really achieving anything at this point because Piedmont is guaranteeable, and I can hold Venice.
Yeah, you can't hold Venice anyway. So we've got Venice is gone. So can we get one more without losing St. Pete?
Well, Tunis is reclaimed.
Yeah.
Berlin is taken. Yeah. All right.
And you got France going into Piedmont. Yeah, this looks like Christian is probably helping. Berlin is reclaimed with an army. Okay. Yeah, Venice goes here. I think the problem though is that now that Italy is down 2, it's going to be really hard to hold it.
Oh, and Marseille too. So it says 17, right?
That's 18, I think. If it's Marseille and Venice, isn't that 18?
Oh, 16. What did we lose?
No, because she loses Berlin.
Lost
Berlin and what?
She just loses Berlin, and that's enough because she was at exactly 18.
Ah, yeah, okay.
17. Yeah, 17 now.
Yeah,
yeah but this is gonna be really hard to hold. And she took Marseille. Yeah, this is a game unless even I think this is not stoppable at this point. Keep going.
Christian, what's Christian doing there? Not.
Yeah, Christian's actively helping the solo at this point. So Rome should fall. Rome is going to fall right here.
Or Spain walk into.
Yeah, Rome or Spain or something.
Oh.
Yeah. No. Nothing
yet.
So what happens here is Carsten spends basically the whole turn negotiating with Christian. For some reason, he's not comfortable with me being in the room, which is fine. So I can't speak to more than that. But he spends the whole turn negotiating with Christian, gets him to flip, and then proceeds to get his tactics around Sweden wrong.
Oh, Sweden! I missed it. And there's 18.
Yeah. What was 18?
So
Sweden. Lost Sweden.
Sweden got
Why did
tapped.
he lose Sweden? He
Convoy.
No, I'm just trying to think. Was there I'm trying to look at the tactic. Was there a guarantee?
He should have done Norway to Sweden with support from Skagerrak and north to Norway because Micah only has one on Norway.
Yeah.
Yeah, Finland does not attack Norway. And he only has 2 on Sweden. So this was protectable without using.
This was guaranteed. This was possible.
Was guaranteed to protect it. Yep.
So Fleet. So going back, Fleet South Coast could have been an army back when it was, and it might have been more helpful, but 18 is achieved either way. So congrats, Micah, on an excellent solo that gains the maximum 550 points. And that gets us to our top board. Let's show the standings here. Let me make sure I haven't given anything away at this point. Unknown is the compilation of all of the unknown players, so it is not one unknown person with 7 boards. So ignore unknown at this point, but Micah with 1,005, including that solo. Zoe,
Wow.
that solo also earned 550, but Karthik with some impressive boards jumps into second with 955. Robert Schuba, who did not show any of the games, nor Ed, nor Darcy, nor Simone. So 8th place is 7th, 7th is 6th, and 6th is 5th, and that will get us to our top board. So let's show the players on here and where. Oops, there they are. So here is the seed order. Micah, Karthik, Zoe, Robert, Ed, Darcy, and Simone. As we mentioned, World Classic, only 2 Americans, and they're both Longhorns. Like, I don't know what that says about we're allowing the Longhorns to triumph here. So
For those of us culturally uninformed, what are Longhorns?
they both went to the University of Texas.
Oh,
But Longhorn refers to, it's the mascot of the University of Texas at Austin. It's a type of cattle which are aptly described as having longhorns. They're the big ones with those giant things. Yeah. And it's the mascot and the symbol that you'll see on the University of Texas.
All right, and there we are. This is so the Paris selection that will happen for these guys. Let's not do any prelim on what we think they're going to do because we've seen a lot of Paris selections now. Let's just analyze it after it happens. And if I can find the video, here we go. We got Paris selection.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to the 2025 Summer Classic Top Board Paris selection. I'm joined by Micah Blom, Karthik Konath, Zoe Cameron, Robert Schupper, Ed Sullivan, Darcy Morris, and Simon Wesendrup for our top board. And I should probably put you in order on the left, but I didn't do that because I'm not Brandon and tech is not my forte. All right. Simon, do you want to start us off by choosing where you want to pick?
Yes, I'd like to be in second, please.
Okay. Darcy, would you like to pick before or after Simon?
I'll pick above Simon.
All right. Ed, would you like to pick before or after Darcy? Ed?
I'll pick ahead of Darcy.
All right. Robert, would you like to pick before or after Ed?
I would like to pick first.
Okay. And Zoe, would you like to pick before or after Robert?
Why interrupt a good thing? I'll go before Robert, please.
Karthik, would you like to pick before or after Zoe?
I'll pick before Zoe.
And Micah, where would you like to pick?
I'll pick after Zoe.
Okay. All right. Well, Karthik, that means you're up first. Pick your poison.
Vive la France.
All right. Zoe, over to you.
I'm going to need a moment. Italy.
Okay. Micah.
England.
Robert.
I would like for time's sake, I will say Transylvania. And then I'll think about something proper to say. I will go with Germany.
Okay. Ed, over to you.
Russia.
If you don't, Darcy.
I'll take Austria.
And Simon, would you like the honours of picking?
I would like to pick Turkey, please.
As you wish. All right. Thank you all for joining us. Best of luck on the other side, and see you soon.
All righty. Paris selection concludes. One person selecting not where they had seeded, dropping down is tiebreaker from Adam. You played on a couple of top boards. It's tiebreaker from first to third. I've seen a lot of people drop, all the way to like fifth, sixth, or seventh because they think the tiebreaker is going to matter that much. Where do you value?
I think it has less to do with the tiebreaker, actually. I think it has to do with wanting to see where other people are picking and wanting to have some influence over where you are on the board. I've been through a few Paris methods, and certainly, I would say the tiebreaker aspect of it is much less of a consideration. I mean, top boards do occasionally come down to it, but I don't have statistics, but I think they mostly don't. And I think people are more concerned with saying, like, okay, where are other people picking and how is my choice going to influence that? If you pick first, okay, you can get France if that's what you want to play. But, there might be somebody here who you're like, I'd rather they be on the other side of the board. They're just not somebody who I find myself, able to work with one-on-one. They don't, just something about our styles make it difficult when we're in the same theater. And having that option to be able to affect the positions on the board that way, I think is even more valuable.
And on top of that, Micah is one of the most diplomatically focused players currently present, at least who I'm aware of in the hobby, with a almost laser focus on diplomacy, with tactics and strategy not thought of, but definitely much less. And so if you're very diplomatically inclined, you want to pick based on other people rather than picking based on what you think is going to be the tactically optimal choice, which everyone knows is France.
Yeah, which makes it all the more fascinating that that Micah just jumped in with England, knowing Karthik was France, and then Robert was so so deliberate, and then picking Germany when he could have had any of the powers in the east of his choice. Went for Germany. That suggests that Robert at least thinks that he can get the edge with either Micah or Karthik, right? Because I think that's pretty bold, jumping right into the West when the other two powers have been selected so early.
Robert has not shied away from picking Germany. First reason, because he wants to order to Ruhe. And second, he likes that same diplomatic type of play I've seen in his games. And so it will be interesting. Although, a couple things on the power selections here. Germany and Turkey had not great results. Turkey obviously falls to seventh. Germany was picked fourth after a rough go. And Italy, Zoe soloed with Italy. And I believe has picked Italy a couple times that we've seen here on DVN broadcasts. Isaac, is it a strength for Zoe to go back to Italy with that second pick, or with the dynamics of the board? Would a better country or an Eastern country been better for her?
I think Italy is sort of potentially, I'm going to even say, a little undervalued as a pick early, because France is basically 9 times out of 10 going to go first. So you start out knowing one relationship, but you still have that full play in the East. And again, Italy lends itself well to a top board because you sort of sit around and move slowly. So you aren't ever going to have any of this sort of big threat, but you are generally in a position where there's always stuff that you can take. So I think picking Italy was a good call here.
Adam, the East has a couple of. He's got Ed, recent winner, top board. He's almost on every single one of them. Knows how to play an alliance game. What do you expect from the East, from the art of the East, without including Italy in there?
Well, given the way the West went so quickly, I would have been shocked if Ed didn't take Russia there. I think it's just a power that he's very comfortable with, and I know that Turkey is often the short straw in top boards, and I think there's probably good reason for that, right? Because people just generally know that if Turkey's out of the box, it's gonna hurt everybody's chances, and digging Turkey out of the corner is something that generally most of the surrounding powers are willing to do. So I think, given how this has gone, I think Simon's got his work cut out for him. Darcy is super aggressive player, and so he's going to probably be pushing for that AIR early in the game so that he can get an advantage and make sure that he's not somebody who gets jumped on.
The great thing about these top boards and the DBN staff is we've got some great sideline reporters, so we will hear the action on how those negotiations went down as we go through today. But with all that being said, leading up to it, let's just get to. Oh, come on, system, let's work. There we go. Let's get to the game. In top board fashion, let's go. Keep your analysis in a single sphere. Adam, I'll put you in the West. Isaac will go to the East, and then you guys jump in, take turns on reading some orders. Adam, I'll have you do springs at least in the beginning, and we'll be flexible and dynamic as we go forward. Let me put my timer. I think we got to reveal, and then I'll get that timer up on the clock. So, Adam, start us out. Spring 1901.
Okay, as we often have in top boards, it's pretty standard-ish types of openings. We don't see a lot of things that are super aggressive. Bounces in Black Sea, bounce in Galicia, nobody going to the channel. I'd say the only things that I would highlight are the Carthic opening to Burgundy, unopposed, and the Army Venice hold is always interesting, considering I guess the normal move is to go to Trieste, right? But for a top board, I'm not surprised by this. This is folks feeling each other out. That's usually pretty cagey play early on in these types of games.
It's also very interesting that Karthik went with Marseille rather than Paris.
Well, I think that makes to me that makes sense. If you get if you did get bounced out of Burgundy, you've got more options from that position rather than being stuck in Paris, right? So I actually think that if you're going to go to Burgundy, generally this is the way to do it. But
that's fair. But you're in Gascony, so you still only have 2 dots that you can take, even if you have 3 units on it.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, unless you're going to Picardy, you're right. Yep.
Fleet Eddie, Army Eddie, and I'm typically a Yorkshire player. Someone make me the pitch for why Eddie is a strong move.
Oh, it's without a doubt a strong move, right? I mean, if you're counting on France not going to the English Channel, so you don't have to do a guess over Yorkshire or over London or Wales or something like that, I think it's a much stronger move because it just builds a lot of flexibility in terms of what you actually do with that army. So it is the superior move, unless you find a French fleet in the Channel, right? So in this case, it paid off. I don't think it's like a game breaker, but it's a good move when you feel comfortable doing it.
And Bradley, but there's not an Australian in Turkey, so no move to Syria.
Yeah,
Andrew Goff style.
Yeah.
All right, to the fall. Come on, there we go.
There we are, Bradley. Your move to Syria. It was just a little bit delayed. Italy takes Tunis. France grabs the 2 Iberian dots and does a nice tactical move where rather than going for Munich, they slide into Ruhr. Micah gets a...
Wait, where did this?
Oh, yeah. Micah gets a convoy down to Belgium and into Norway. No Swedish bounce. Second bounce in Galicia. And Bulgaria holds. So Bulgaria holds is interesting with that because you quite often see Bulgaria to Romania so that the fleet can get out. But for some reason, they decided to bounce Black Sea again here. And again, it seems like there's a bit of caginess still going on in that section of the East because you've got that Black Sea bounce, that Bulgaria hold, and then you've got Galicia bouncing again. So the East still seem not sure who they want to cooperate with.
The West is anything but tenuous here. That move to Ruhr is incredibly aggressive on Karthik's part. There's a slight variation on this opening that EF have done that I've seen that's actually even more devastating to the Germans, which is where Edinburgh convoys to Holland instead of convoying to Belgium, which doesn't get England the second build, but it pins down Germany, and they're sitting with one build. But this is still very, very aggressive. It looks very anti-German. Of course, it doesn't have to be on Micah's part, and I'm sure Robert will be trying to sway Micah to convince her that you should be sticking with me, not going with Karthik here.
Bouncing in Galatia, bouncing in Black Sea in fall 1901 reminds me of some older school games of the uncertainty of the East. We'll see what led to that. We've got some sideline reports. Sadly, we do not have the map with it, so take a screenshot of the map as it looks right now. Put it on your screen as we listen to Patrick and McCallus talk about spring 1901.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first sideline report of the 2025 Summer Classic Top Board. I'm Patrick, covering the East, along with McCallus, covering the West half of the board. McCallus, how about you start us off? What's going on in your world?
All right, so starting in spring 1901, it's all very, I want an alliance, I don't want to stab. I think Micah, Karthik, and Robert all say that to each other at different points. Whether they believe it or not, we'll leave that up to the viewers. There's a lot of discussion in spring 1901 of potential triples involving Ed. It doesn't seem like anyone wants to go after Russia early on, whether that's EF or EG. So Ed's looking quite good in the West, despite not having spoken to anyone yet. Between Karthik and Micah, Karthik is very happy for Micah to have Belgium, lays out a plan for an EF where she has Belgium and then he backfills it later on when she's in Holland and Denmark, so they're on 6-6, and Micah seems very receptive to this. Robert and Micah have a sort of similar chat where Micah also gets Belgium, so it seems like England will be getting Belgium in 01, and beyond that, there's some talk of potential EGRs and EFRs where in the EGR, Ed is left alone in Scandinavia, which Robert seems a little less infused by, but is okay with it. And whereas in the EFR, Karthik and Micah both talk and then go and pitch to Ed an attack where the three of them take down Germany.
All right, quite a lot going on already. In the East, the talk of the town is similarly triples. Darcy and Zoe have a pretty normal chat to begin with. Darcy offers a Trieste loan straight up, but Zoe does not take it immediately. And after that, it's really mostly a talk about whether it's going to be a rat or an AIT. Darcy is really flip-flopping between, wanting to work with Ed or wanting to work with Zoe, but it seems like his common thread is trying to impress Zimone and try and get him on side as a partner. And Zimone's been receptive to this when he's in a chat with him, but he's also said, particularly to Ed, that he's a bit confused about why he's playing like, oh, I just want to work with you and do a full alliance all game on a top board. Perhaps a bit of friction going on there. There's also, of course, AIT happening. It seems like AIT spend quite a bit of time in a chat together, while Ed's the one getting left out in the cold more often than not. But at the same time, it's really too early to tell, and it's pretty normal openings with bounces agreed to in Galicia and Black Sea. So, McCallus, what's going on in the fall?
All right, so for full 1901, there's more long conversations between Karthik and Micah to start the phase off. Karthik was surprised Micah opened to Edinburgh. She had told him at the end, but he thought she was committing to Fleet Edinburgh, not that she was opening there in the first place. So he was pleased by that, and they then carried on the chat. Micah pitched Karthik going straight for Munich, but Karthik said he was only interested in doing this if Micah bounced Holland. Otherwise, he felt he was being too committal while she was still getting to choose. So they talked about that a bit, and then both agreed not to do that plan. So Micah's just getting Belgium. Later on, Robert and Micah speak, and again, Robert's pitching her getting Belgium. Micah tells Robert that Karthik is going to let her have Belgium, and that Robert can choose whether to cover Munich or not, which Robert's quite interested by. Robert pushes hard for Fleet Liverpool, Fleet London, and Micah agrees. So we're going to be able to see in winter 1901 which way Micah's leaning. But it already feels like Karthik and Robert, their chat was much shorter. There was a lot less commitment between them, and it feels like it's going to be Micah having her pick of who to work with.
Yeah, Karthik and Zoe have an interesting chat later on that turn where Zoe straight up asks Karthik, which ally do you prefer right now? And Karthik explains, Mike has been spending a lot more time with me and feels like she's more receptive to my ideas with moves. So I'm going to go with her for now. Zoe seems to give off the vibe that she's okay with this, but the tone of her saying that didn't quite convince me. Meanwhile, talks between Ed and Darcy were a bit non-committal. Darcy again said he'd be open to either an air or a rat. Ed said straight up that he would like to kill Zimon over Zoe if they were to triple up. Later that turn, there's a lot of just AIT chatting. It's not pretty non-committal, but they spend a lot of time together as a threesome, which really says a lot about where they are at the moment. Ed's just sitting by himself in his own room for a while, looking quite sad. He does get a word in with Zimon later on, but there's a bit of friction there as Zimon wants to bounce Black Sea again, but Ed's like, how about you go to Con, a nice port to rum? But ultimately, Zimon talks him down, and they go for the very conservative option of bouncing Black again. And then in the fall moves, it's just a matter of please don't bounce Romania, and we do see in the moves that he does not. So that relationship is still intact for now.
The skepticism in the East in 1901 was wild to hear about from the sideline reporters. It was back and forth and who's talking to whom, and I mean, maybe it's a good thing. I mean, we don't want every top board to be the same. So it was different than what we've seen in other recent top boards. Isaac, you're analyzing the East. What did you draw from that?
It was basically very non-committal. The other thing, it was very non-committal, very cagey, which is we've sort of already touched on. The other thing that I will say of note, which is, as far as I could tell from the sidelining, it seems like Zoe is the only power in the East who has had a conversation with the West. Russia maybe hasn't, it just hasn't been touched on. But that is another thing that surprised me, that on a top board, there's usually a bit more cross-board talk than we're getting.
Yeah, Russia did five some of the notes here. Russia and Germany were speaking a bit. I don't know about Russia with the other side. I did not hear about any A&T negotiations with the other side.
Yeah.
Adam, just thoughts on the first sideline?
Well, I mean, it's really interesting to hear that the vibe in the West is very clear that France and Germany do not want to work together. And it seems like that's been the case from the beginning. They've both been vying for Micah's attentions. And it seems like that was really both of their, it almost seems like that was both of their goals from the beginning, or if it wasn't their goals from the beginning, something just in the early negotiations made them both want to work with Micah and not with each other. And that seems to be very blatantly playing out in the way they're negotiating, both with each other and with Micah. It puts Micah in a great position, obviously, but it's also really hard to be in that position because it means you've got to make that commitment pretty much right away. And so the question is, will she make it with her builds, showing Robert what he wants to see, or will she make more neutral looking builds and have to show those moves in the
Well,
spring? And I think this is
the other
just such
thing,
this is one of the most difficult parts of the game, actually. Even when you're in the driver's seat and it's like, I got to drive. What am I going to do? And part of it's vibes, and part of it's like, how do I read what's happening on the rest of the board? And has Micah been having those conversations with Austria and Turkey to know what a wreck the East is right now, and that an aggressive play with either Robert or with Karthik will probably resolve the West faster than the East?
yeah. The other really interesting note from sidelines is that Karthik was very much like, I'm not going to bounce Munich because bouncing Munich is way too committal without you having to make any commitment. And then in fall, he goes to Ruhr,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which is
Ruhr is
pretty strong commitment.
No, Ruhr is really more aggressive than Munich, because Munich was almost for sure going to get covered there. So Ruhr is like that's a commitment.
One thing, and maybe I'm making this up, so don't take it as truth for anything, but I thought I heard in some conversation that the bounce of Holland, Adam, which you mentioned earlier, was in discussion, but it was in discussion with Ruhr or Munich or something or other too. So no comments.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it was exactly this set of moves, except Michael was supposed to go to Holland instead of Belgium, which honestly, like, if you're looking to take down Germany, that is one of the best ways to do it, right? So maybe that's presaging what Micah's thinking here. I don't know.
Yeah. It was that Karthik said he would bounce Munich if Micah bounced. He would go to Munich if Micah bounced Holland. That's what the conversation was.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
That's where I'd heard it. So, all right, it's good conversations, and I will say again, thanks to the sideline reporters. It is so tough because there's more DMing now than I think when we first started doing the virtual tournaments. So for the insights that they get, sometimes the players, when they are stuck in a room by themselves, will bug and tell the sideline reporters what's going on in the background too. So we thank the players for their insights, and certainly our sideline reporters, which we will continue to hear from all game long. So here's where our winter 1901. The data suggested back in the day when we did a big data study, when England got 5 in 1901, the percentage top just goes way up. Adam, if you're building England, what are you doing here, and are you feeling good?
I mean, I'm feeling good. The question is, what commitments have I made? And if I've made a commitment to build Liverpool, London, it's a question of am I ready to do that, right? Or am I going to go through for something more conservative, like just put fleets in London and Eddie, which still gives me a lot of flexibility, but it's not quite as spring moves. I think that there's a reasonable argument to do it, because Germany should be all on side here. So we're probably going to get an army in Kiel, fleet Berlin, not the other way, which means Germany should be with me. So I'm thinking about it for sure.
Ed Sullivan getting 2 builds. It's sometimes tough to get both of those builds. Isaac, what are you expecting from Ed in this situation, given the uncertainty in the East?
Got to be 2 armies. You don't putting a build in St. Petersburg, especially when the East is uncertain and you don't have a clear ally, is way too committal against either Germany or England. You have that St. Pete army build you can use against either, or you can bring down to be involved in the East.
Yeah, I think that's right. I agree with Isaac here. I think there's situations where you want that North Coast fleet, but I don't think this is it.
Well, the answer is a South Coast fleet.
Oh.
Wow. Okay, so these are I would, the English builds are. I mean, it's maybe too much to say they're anti-German, but they're certainly very pro-French.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that Robert actually put the fleet in Kiel, so he clearly didn't have the confidence in Micah to build the other way, which is really what you might prefer to do, having that French army in Ruhr. So I think this is an EF.
What do you make of the? Oh, go ahead.
It is, I think, an EF given that commitment, but I will say, dropping that army rather than a fleet is a really nice way to be able to commit to either side still, in theory, because like you say I'll go to Picardy and then convoy the army back into Belgium and we can fight Russia. Like, I don't think that's what's happening, but it does create that flexibility if you ever wanted to try and pivot into
with the South Coast fleet by Russia, there is no way that this is.
Oh yeah, I'm saying that's not what's happening, but
Yeah.
it's just like it can be good for flexibility.
It's been a while since I've seen South Coast in 1901 for Russia. I mean, this to me suggests that this has been coordinated from very early on, and we didn't hear about conversations between Micah and Ed, but they must have been happening, because that build does not happen in a vacuum. Micah must have asked for it.
We'll see what comes from there. We've got spring 1902. Isaac, give me the orders on this one and tell us your side of the East here.
It's an EF. Who could have seen it coming? Just takes Holland, Germany reinforces Ruhr, and France just sort of gets into position to defend if England decides to be naughty, but not really doing anything. In the east, you got to support up into Black Sea. You got Romania, so this is going AIT, and moving a little bit towards the line to either attack or defend Germany. Not sure which yet. And with that AIT, you see a little bit of Zoe already going west with that move to Tyrrhenian. You see that push into Germany, and the main headline is the taking of Romania and the forcing of the Black Sea, although interestingly, units staying in Syria. So Turkey clearly not fully committed yet, not sure what Italy's doing.
Yeah, I dislike the hold in Syria here. There's nothing it can do in Syria that it can't do in Armenia. And, you're supporting Austria into dots. Why aren't you putting yourself in a position to try to take something? I don't get that. I also don't get the move to Bohemia here instead of at least sending one to Galicia for Italy, like for Austria. I think that's a mistake on Darcy's part. I understand that he's trying to get involved in the whole German thing, but if you're making this commitment against Russia here, you don't need Russia and Galicia here. It's just.
I will briefly. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I will briefly defend Darcy here. If you get into Galicia, you bounce. If you're doing an AIT, this seems like a solid AIT, or at least a solid AI. So you have a strong relationship with Zoe. If you're in Bohemia, Vienna, and Budapest, you can just kick Russia straight back out of Galicia in the fall. Whereas if you go to Galicia, you've got an army stuck in Trieste that can't really do anything useful.
Okay.
On the other side, we didn't talk about the convoy to Tunis much in spring 1901. We talked about the armies down there in a previous game. With the fleet to Tyrrhenian, that's usually the way to get it home. But bringing it back to Naples, Adam,
I think this is good move by Zoe. I mean, usually I probably prefer to convoy to Apulia rather than Naples, just to kind of get it closer to being in play. But I like her getting it out of Tunis. It's not doing her any good there. If she's not doing a Lepanto or type of move and planning on getting it out into Turkey, like, get it back home. There's no reason to have it sitting there, especially if you're making these moves up north with your Venice army. So I like it. Again, would have preferred to see it go to Apulia, I think. But maybe she has something in mind sending it to Naples.
One space less, away from Austria too. It's a defensive more.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think I have a whole lot else to say.
Yeah, and to Bradley's comment in the chat, right? If you're moving to black,
Yeah,
you go to
I think
Armenia.
I think we said this earlier. I just don't think that army can. There's nothing it can do in Syria that it can't also do from Armenia, but have more options when it's in Armenia. I understand the reason to move it there early in 1901, but if you're going after Russia, you're forcing the Black Sea, you're supporting Austria into Romania. Why are you not in Armenia?
Yeah. And Isaac, one last comment about Italy here is, what does Tyrrhenian do to maybe some DMZs in the Mediterranean here? Is this going to, I mean, we already know it's EF. Was Carthage going to come south anyway? I mean, Mid-Atlantic Spain could shift both ways.
It could shift both ways. I think you'd rather be in Tyrrhenian than bouncing Tyrrhenian. And also, I mean, I'm just going off of my own, but I think most Med DMZs are Piedmont, Leon, Western Med, and sometimes North Africa. Like, you have to be a very, very strong diplomatic player for really to say, no, actually, it is a problem if I'm in the Tyrrhenian Sea.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why Carthage should be worried about this. I mean, he doesn't really need to do much with his fleet, so he could arrange a West Med bounce or something like that if he wants to from this position. Like, I think this is pretty normal for Italy to be just repositioning units. I wouldn't read too much into that move, other than there's no reason to leave the fleet in Naples when you're convoying back home.
Yep, for sure. All right, so Adam, take us through fall 1902.
Okay. So it's in Naples because it's convoying to Greece. So that must be agreed to destroy the Austrian fleet. So that's clearly an agreed upon move, with Austria taking Romania. They're going to rebuild that as an army. To your earlier point, Isaac, you're right. They kick Ed out of Galicia here. They give it the retreat to Bohemia, which I think isn't going to really help that much. Up in the north, they put Russia into Denmark, goes down to the Baltic Sea. And so here's the issue. Now Syria is bounced out of Armenia instead of already being there. I do like the Tyrrhenian to Lyon. That's kind of a cheeky move there by Zoe, and in Piedmont as well. So, doing something to slow down the EF. It's interesting. I think this is really an interesting alliance structure. The AIT is, like many triple alliances, it's inherently unstable. It's certainly less long-term stable than an AIR, just because there are a lot of kind of overlapping positions where everybody needs to be. So I'll be curious to see whether this is something that can be maintained longer term or if it breaks down quickly. But they're playing it really nicely so far.
Yeah, I'm guessing that that Western Med move was potentially a break of an agreement. The other move that I do quite like is I like Norwegian to Clyde. It's a little, Clyde's a little bit of an unused space for good reason, but it lets you defend against France, which you don't really need to do, but you don't want to. Now is a little too threatening for Mao, and Clyde also. The main thing it does is it takes the pressure off of Russia, who, if you're in the West, if you're one of EF, then you're doing everything you can possibly to make sure Russia is as comfortable with you as humanly possible, because they're how you stop the East from resolving too fast.
And you're loving this if you're Micah, right? Because the fact that Russia is likely to be having a hard time in the South means that's where they're going to be committing future builds, if they get any, or where they're going to be committing their units other than those two northern fleets. So that means the North is your oyster when you're ready to take it. In 1905, 1906, when Russia maybe has to pulls one of those northern fleets, like, it's all there for you when you want it.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm sure there's got to be some commentary we'll hear from the sideline reporters about the Met as well. We'll see if there is anything. What else? I had something. I'll think of it while we are watching the video. So let's hear from the sideline reporters for 1902.
All right. Hello, studio. We're back again for 1902 sideline reporting. The call started last time in the West, so I think this time I'll start off in the East for spring of 1902. Still pretty non-committal so far after 01 builds. Darcy and Zoe are the first ones to talk. Darcy is suddenly a little doubtful about the idea of an AIT. Maybe tell Zoe that maybe we should do some more conventional AI play, maybe kill Turkey, work with Ed a bit. Zoe says she's down for whatever, but she also doesn't want to make herself too unprepared for a fight with Karthik and is a bit concerned that an air might take a bit too long to get her something and stretch out her fleets. Ed joins them Ed joins them a little later and says, why no one would expect an air? Because we haven't bleeping talked. I'll leave that to your imagination. Darcy says he'll talk with Ed soon as Ed leaves, but he stays with Zoe and they never really talk the whole turn. Zimon joins after that. AI, especially Zoe, expressed a lot of happiness with his fleet con build. Zimon pitches some very specific attack plans, tactics-wise, against Ed, and plays up the threat of an EF in the West to convince Zoe not to go after him, but Zoe doesn't seem to need much convincing regardless. And from here, Darcy comes around, says he's happy to follow Zimon's lead tactically, and this is kind of where the AIT is solidified for the time being. Later, Darcy and Ed do get together. Darcy, spins Ed a tale about how Zoe just refuses to fight Turkey and we should rat instead. Ed suggests, if Italy's not going to do anything, then you should attack Venice. But Darcy hums and haws about that, so not much of an effect. Meanwhile, Micah's, of course, seeing where everyone's spending their time in the South in terms of the talks, and sees, Ed might be in trouble, so she offers Ed a dot in the North in 1902 if he needs it, namely Denmark. But Ed doesn't take her up on that immediately. He says he'll wait and see if it's really an AIT before accepting something like that. Michaelis, what happened in the West?
Yeah, so in the West, Robert obviously realizes that EF are against him. Micah didn't put the two fleets down and Karthik's in Ruhr. He pitches hard first to Micah to turn, saying that he'll look very favorably on whichever of the two turns first, and he can janitory for that player. Micah isn't particularly interested in this offer, but Robert finishes off by saying that she has to make sure Karthik is not the Summer Classic champion this year, and Micah says she's very keen on that being the case, but when Robert speaks to Karthik, he's also not interested. He's not really getting anything. Both of them sort of leave the door open to working with him later, but not at the moment. Micah and Karthik talk about Robert's pitch to each other and that they both turned it down. She asks Karthik to tap Kiel, and Karthik says, I've already got that order written. Holland is guaranteed. They then start a discussion about the East. Micah thinks it's an AIR, but Karthik thinks it's AIT. Micah's quite worried about how big Simon might get if that's what happens, but neither of them are really too keen on doing anything to disrupt the East yet. And Micah finishes it off by telling Karthik that she thinks Robert was more reliable, but that Karthik's more fun. So she chose fun in this game.
All right. Well, then on to the fall. Here we finally see the attacks on Ed into Romania, the attacks on Robert into Holland. Darcy and Zimon break out first one, and see you guys next year. The main focus is just figuring out tactics for the fall. Of course, support holding Romania, trying to get into Galicia, all that good stuff. The decision about what to do with Zoe, they have on and off talked about, whether to stab Zoe if she goes west. But they decided to kind of postpone that decision until her
the fall moves. It's
commitment
just
level
a
against
matter of
Karthik
please don't
is
bounce
more
Romania.
clear.
Please don't bounce Romania.
Then Zoe joined. It's more the
that
same
he
EIT
does
talk
not.
from the previous
That
turn.
relationship is still intact
Zoe asks for another
now.
doc, suggests two fleets isn't really enough to fight Karthik if he's got an
That
ally,
relationship
and
is
asks for
still
react.
Oh, I think I had some audio overlay there. So let me get back to fixing that. From the talking about the spring. I had to re-record the audio. Let me work on that. What do you guys take from the spring background?
I think it's in alignment with our read of the board, actually, which is, I think, unusual. So
I think it's very interesting that air was even being pitched from this position.
Yeah.
How do you run an air even from Spring 02? You just can't.
Yeah, I think it's probably Ed blowing smoke, right? Trying to get something happening in the South, which is just not there. But I think the West is very consistent with how the board looks. I mean, it was just a situation where Micah and Karthik decided this is what they were going to do, and Robert lost all of his leverage very early.
Yeah. Yeah, and the East sort of has yet to respond there in terms of. It's interesting because I mean I haven't done or covered that many top boards, so I can't say. But you would sort of expect a response from the East to be to try and sort of sprint towards a double almost, given the speed that EF's going, and you just don't really have that yet from sort of anyone in the East. Nobody's willing to sort of commit to a single partner in the way that EF are, and I think that just creates a massive advantage for EF throughout the rest of the game.
Yeah, this is looking less, and again, I think it's still early to tell, but it's looking less like a typical balance of power style top board than just a kind of an aggressive, I'll say like more normal game in many ways, right? Once a real legit two-way alliance has sort of taken off and is showing that they're making quick gains. It's not only about the other powers trying to stop them, but it's also like on a many more balance of power games. It's just these double alliances don't last more than a few turns, and we'll see what happens here with Micah and Karthik. But there's not really any early indications that there's any friction whatsoever there. I think they're both playing aggressively and figuring we can run this, and one of us can win it that way.
Yeah, and just reading the board position as it is at the end of O2, if I'm either of them, there's not a good stab available to me. There's not a stab that makes it worth going after either of them.
Yep.
That makes it going after the other for me. Even with Robert's help, there's just not enough that can be done.
Yeah,
right,
the only question is, does Karthik look at this position and say, "Well, Micah is way too much in the driver's seat here," right? Because I think that's what it looks like to me. And if I'm in Karthik's position, and now I've got some Italian stuff to deal with, and I'm not going to be making gains through Germany that quickly, or as quickly as I had hoped to be, like I'm looking and saying, like, Micah better give me Belgium now, otherwise there's going to be a problem here.
Well, I think this is part of the value in having gotten rid of that Denmark unit, because I think that was a forced disband, and that means that actually it's really hard for FG to work together even in that position, because if you're going to do that, if you're going to turn on Micah, then you need Robert on side. But Robert only has one fleet, and you'd have Denmark and Baltic working against you still. So I think that move into Denmark was good for board balance, but it's also further strengthened Micah's position.
I think that's right. That all being said, I don't think a change in direction on Karthik's part is necessarily I'm going to switch to Robert and take Micah out, so much as, again, a balance of power play, saying you're growing faster, the opportunities are there for you. I need to take some stuff from behind to keep this game in a balance where I still think I'm in a position to win the board, right? So I'm more thinking of that than I am necessarily like I'm completely shifting and throwing everything up there. Like that wouldn't make any sense. But there is a world where Mike is saying, well, no, like I don't need to give you Belgium because that's my dot, and like I've got some stuff in front, but like you've got to deal with your stuff, I got to deal with mine, right? So I think there's a little bit of that.
All right, I think I got it. Let me see if we can jump in here. If not, we'll skip on to the builds here. Hang on one second.
Talk about Robert's pitch to each other, and that they both turned it down. She asks Karthik to tap Keel, and Karthik says, "I've already got that order written. Holland is guaranteed." They then start a discussion about the East. Micah thinks it's an AIR, but Karthik thinks
nope. Sadly, it's not going. I re-recorded background voice on both of them. So.
That's all right. I think we can just plow ahead and catch up with the next set of.
Yeah. There were some good bits. I will say I was in the room for a little bit of the discussions, and when Ed walked in and said, "You know why there's not an air? It's because we haven't talked." Ed and Zoe did not have a single conversation until 2 or 3 minutes left in fall 1902.
Wow.
So That's how much there was. Just the negotiations was good. It was quick, but the East, those two had not gotten focused. So I will get some notes on the rest of fall 1902. All right, so here's where we are, winter 1902, as you guys were mentioning. What do we see? Let's just see the orders, and then you guys react. Come on, there we are.
Yeah.
Armies and a fleet by Italy. Those all make sense.
Yeah, it makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mike is definitely playing a bit fleet light, but I certainly appreciate why a army makes more sense given the structure of what she's trying to achieve here. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and even then, she's playing a little fleet light, but like with Karthik doesn't have that much, and also like Karthik and Ed are not really in a position where they're going to want to move their fleets towards her with those Italian fleets and the southern pressure. So I think it's fine to play fleet light from this position for that reason.
The challenge for Micah here is, I guess, I think she probably gets Denmark to push her into Helgoland here and is looking at Kiel as her next build. But I think that swap of Belgium for her next dot is going to be looming over her. So we'll see how that gets managed.
All right. Let's move to spring 1903. Adam, keep going with the orders on this one and take the West.
Okay, so Ed has now... No, what is Ed supporting? Is Denmark supporting Holland to Kiel or Helgoland?
Holland to Kiel.
It's supporting
Holland to Kiel.
Holland to Kiel. Okay, so Ed is still on side here. Okay, so that's just sliding those over. Munich goes, and Karthik is protecting himself down in the south against Zoe, who is now going whole hog, full force against the West. Turkey finally supports themselves up to Armenia. The Austrians push into Ukraine here and just continue to advance the position against Ed. So tough turn for Ed here. Looks like he's probably going to lose Sev and or Warsaw come the fall, given that PIF in Ukraine is really hurts him here. Needed to find a way to save that unit.
Yeah.
Isaac, elsewhere in the East, I'm thinking diplomatically, there's not a whole lot. It's just a bunch of...
Yeah, it is... The convoy out of Greece is interesting because there is an argument that Zoe can make, which is, well, an army's not going to do anything extra against France. I have the fleets. I'm going to stay in Greece so that you guys can't just walk in and take it. So I think that is like a decent diplomatic play from her to send that back to Apulia, because you're not really under any threat from anyone with the Austrian position, and Robert certainly isn't going to be going for Venice anytime soon.
I think the problem is going to be after this coming turn, can the AIT continue, right? Because, and I'm concerned from the perspective of Turkey. I guess that at that point, Austria could push into Warsaw, Turkey can push into Moscow, and then they can turn against Germany. But at that point, is Turkey just going to plow into Austria if they leave everything to go, to go up into the middle of the board? This is the constant problem that this kind of position is going to face.
I think this is almost... It's tricky because usually this would be Italy's choice of sort of who they want to work with, but Italy's sort of embroiled themselves with the French, which makes them someone who you don't want to stab, but also makes them someone who you don't want to stab the other member of the alliance with.
Yeah. Well, it means Zoe's not going to participate if there's a stab on Austria, or it basically leaves it leaves Austria and Turkey the decision as to like what are they going to do, because Zoe's basically saying, I'm playing elsewhere. I'm not playing on this in this side of the pool. So again, this is all everything coming up. Micah is really what this comes down to, because Micah just has, no real enemies in this game, right? And
except Robert, who's about to die.
But Robert doesn't even count at this point, right? So,
yeah.
And Karthik, her main allies, Karthik and Ed, are getting pummeled from the other side of the board, and nobody's in any position to do anything against her. What a amazing, amazing position she's in.
All right, let us get on to Fall 03. Isaac, take us through the orders if they ever show up. There we
go. Sweden, Livonia, Micah pushing into a northern position as Ed loses in the south. You do see that exchange for Belgium that you were talking about, but Micah's still going +1 here, and she's in Livonia. If I'm Karthik, I don't know how. I understand that the Belgium swap is good, but I don't know how satisfied I am with it from a balancing perspective. But there's not really anything that can be done. Zoe pushing into the Med, so Karthik probably going to have to drop another fleet. And AT continue to be together for the moment, as they are. As things go even worse for Karthik, as he gets pushed out of Munich by Austria Germany working with the East. So yeah, just more great stuff for Micah basically this time.
I wonder how Zoe is reacting to the con to AG, and I mean it's a natural move for Turkey to make here, but why not south coast of Bull or something? If it's a really strong alliance play, right?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Technical difficulties. I'm going to try something here on the sideline. This is our last chance to see if we can get it. Hang on one second.
All right. Looks like we're still having some technical problems there with the sidelines, but that's okay. Isaac, is there, like, if you're not England in this game, what are you thinking now? How do you give yourself your shot?
1903 sideline report. Kamarites, hit me. What's going on in the West?
In the West, we have Karthik going straight to Zoe after that turn went through and Zoe moved to Piedmont and Lyon. And he points out that if she keeps attacking him, Micah's going to run away with this game. Ed's going down in the East, and he's the only possible counterweight. Zoe sort of agrees with this, and fighting each other's bad for both of them, but prevaricates and refuses to actually commit to pulling back. So Karthik then goes and talks to Micah, where there's a big plan between the two of them on how to divide up the German centres. Micah is pushing hard for Ed to move Bohemia into Munich so that Ed can get a build, whilst Karthik gets Belgium, she gets Kiel and is even. Karthik thinks that he needs Munich for himself, that Ed will not be able to hold it even if he does get in, and that he wants the build to be able to hold back Zoe. They talk through most of this phase. At one point, Micah says that North Atlantic could come down and prop him up, and Karthik's very unhappy by this. I think he realizes he'll be very boxed in if that's what is needed. In the end, it's agreed that Karthik's going to be the one to take Munich, and what Ed does is going to be decided in full.
Yeah, so meanwhile in the East, Darcy and Zimone got to chat at the start of the turn while Zoe was with Karthik. Obviously, they had a lot to talk about, but they don't use the time to discuss a stab like they suggested they might before when Zoe committed against Karthik, so clearly their attitude around that is changing quite a bit. It's Ed's tactical mistakes, as pointed out by Zimone, make him an appealing target for both of them for the moment, since they both have clear paths to building. Darcy is mainly negotiating a way to just get the armies away from the Balkans, so when Zoe comes back, she does agree to convoy Greece out back to the boot immediately, even though that compromises her fleet's western movements. And Zimone agrees to convoy Bulgaria into Sevastopol in the fall, rather than putting Armenia in. So Darcy's feeling quite happy and comfortable all of a sudden after some tumultuous negotiations in fall of 2002. Robert also joins at one point. He asks if Darcy would cover, quote unquote, Berlin for him. Darcy obviously is a bit more focused on Ed, so he's not committal. And as a result, nothing really comes of that. Zimone later brings up the strength of Micah's position in a way that maybe he might have benefited more from bringing up last year. Here's a quote from Zimone. I'm used to 1907 games, and in a 1907 game on this board, Micah would win right now. But in a 1910 board, we have time to grind it down to an 11-11-11-1 between us. So it should be fine. Darcy leaves after that to chat with Ed. Zimone reaffirms his liking of game-long alliances to Zoe and kind of tries to discuss a stab, but it doesn't really go anywhere, so they're going to stick together for this turn at least.
All right, going into fall, the West has now pretty much become the Micah Blom show. Ed comes in straight away to a chat with her and Karthik and just offers to convoy her to Livonia, says she can take Sweden. Ed, he realizes he's cooked in the East and he's just wants to try and help EF fight against the AIT. I don't think it is unnoticed by him that this benefits Micah way more than Karthik, but Micah is quite happy to do that convoy. There's some discussion about whether to try and get Ed a center at the same time, but Ed's like, it doesn't matter. I won't be able to rebuild. I'm going down just to get yourself into position as much as possible. Convoy to Norway as well. Just get everything there. And Micah is obviously very receptive to this. Karthik is also quite receptive. I think he likes Micah's units moving away from him, but it's not looking great for Karthik. He has a chat with Zoe at the start, but it doesn't really go anywhere. And then when Zoe talks to Micah, Zoe asks Micah to come and stab Karthik with her. And Micah says, this is the first time you've spoken to me all game. I'm not really interested in this. I have a much better offer from Russia now. And Zoe seems quite disappointed. She says that she feels like she's throwing herself out of position and Micah's benefiting. And Micah doesn't really deny this, but just won't commit to attacking Karthik. It feels like Micah is getting quite close to having 2 Janissaries already in the West.
Yeah. This is why the EI relationship is important, folks. Anyway, in the East, Darcy and Zoe, once again, 2 of the 3 of the AIT have a chance to talk privately at the start. This time it's Darcy and Zoe, but they don't really do anything with it. Still very trusting all around. Zimone reaffirms that he'll convoy Bulgaria to Sev, so the Balkans are completely demilitarized. Robert gives very strong assurance to Darcy that even though he had to retreat to Tyrolia, he's still fully down to help the AIT against the West, and that Tyrolia is not going to dot him. And we see eventually that a plan is hatched to support Darcy into Munich. To kick Karthik out. What effect that'll have on further unbalancing the West remains to be seen. There's lots of deliberation about what to do with Ed as well, but no one really talks to him for most of the turn. And meanwhile, Ed is having those conversations that McCallus mentioned with the people who have actually talked to him and offered him something in this game. I think it's safe to say that the West is winning the battle for Ed at the moment. Darcy does come in later and propose that they blow up Bohemia, and then Ed rebuilds the Northern Fleet, and Darcy doesn't take Warsaw. Ed agrees to it, but he gets caught up in details, and neither of them seem really that convinced by the other's response. It doesn't really come of anything nothing really comes of it in the moves. Meanwhile, France and Turkey were chatting at the end. Darcy popped in. Darcy talks a little bit about regretting not going with Air as well, but Ed says it's too late to turn around. And he really goes through big pains to explain to Darcy why everything he's doing makes this a witches game and guarantees that one of England or Turkey will top. But again, Darcy's sticking with the plan for now, and he's building from it.
Back to the studio.
It
What was
almost
it saying?
feels like the question I was starting to ask before around what you do if you're not Micah and and want to have a shot to win this game, but it almost feels like there's starting to be this like inevitability about around that being the outcome of the
The answer
game.
appears to be cry.
Yeah, I just I guess the question is there anything at this point that can change it? I see there's a question in the chat on what does which's game mean. That means that it's going to be either England or Turkey, and in the current situation, it looks like England. But the reason that Turkey is also under consideration is because all of the other countries around Turkey are moving towards the middle of the board, leaving open the opportunity for Turkey to plow west in through Austria and Russia and Italian dots to also become very big as the game goes on. So
Turkey
we'll
could
see if that
easily go
happens.
for +3 in this position.
Yeah. I mean, I think at some point, and probably not too long from now, Simon is going to have to do something if he wants to have any chance. And he really it's probably true that he's the one with the greatest pulse on the, possibilities here. Unless somebody just dramatically does something to change this board, I just don't know that that Zoe can really turn around at this point fast enough. Her units are too far west to be able to make a move, an effective move against another power. I guess she could go to Trieste, pull Piedmont back, pull the fleets back, and try to get herself into a position to do something. But Darcy's building two, so I don't think that's going to really be feasible at this stage.
If you wanted to do that, you sort of had to do it last year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just almost any of the options just seem as bad as continuing on the current course. That being said, the current course is a path to inevitability, so somebody needs to do something to change this dynamic. Otherwise, the inevitability is here. It's done.
Yeah.
One of the items from the end of the 1902 sideline that never got played was the reason why Ed he didn't retreat to Warsaw because he thought he was getting a build. He forgot that he hadn't already lost Romania because he lost it in the spring of 02. He thought that center was already not his, and he was.
Which retreat? Because Ukraine could not retreat to Warsaw because there was a battle.
No, this was 02. So this retreat right here to Bohemia, which caused a lot of problems for 03.
Oh,
he thought
he had a rebuild in Warsaw. I see. Okay.
Yeah, he thought
he didn't go to Warsaw.
Denmark. He thought he had already lost Romania.
He thought he didn't own Romania. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But he had not lost the center yet. So that was, he thought he was getting the rebuild, why he was out of position and why 1903 became much more difficult.
Yep.
Okay. So hard. Yeah.
So, all right, here we are to winter 03. The builds are, well, Robert is down. All right, what's Robert keeping to make things more interesting?
Why is he -2? Oh, he's got Tyrolia. I see. I mean, he probably keeps Berlin. I mean, it doesn't really matter, right?
Berlin or Tyrolia. He disbands the fleet, but he keeps one of the armies. But it's a toss up on which.
Probably keeps Berlin, but I don't know that it matters that much.
Yeah.
Keeps Berlin.
Yeah, Berlin. Yeah. And
Turkish
and
wave
in the north, of course. And Turkey waved.
Turkey lost internet connection at some point, and I don't know if it was this turn or the next one. And so, if maybe this was a wave or it was not, sideline reporters are usually recording during the adjustments. So let's see. I'm trying to think which year that was.
What Karthik says it was an intentional wave.
No, so, there we go.
Okay.
Karthik was on the board, so he would know. All right, so that gets us into spring 1904. Is it Austria's got more centers? Turkey's got possibly better position. Is this the year one of them's got to move? I think it was Simon who said in the 1910 game, there's a chance to flip the script. Karthik's not playing just to, be in an alliance on top board. There's going to be movement. Who's got Adam?
I don't know if you're Austria and Turkey, like how you move on the. I don't know how you do it here. To be honest with you,
Arguably,
what is? Go ahead, Isaac.
I have a pitch. The wave doesn't help it, but the pitch is go into Ionian or Greece, go into Venice, stab Italy, you grow, you take pressure off Karthik so he can put pressure back on Micah. I think the pathway to this game that isn't just Micah winning is AT needs to stab Italy. Sorry, Zoe.
I think that I think I agree with that. I think that makes more sense than AT stabbing each other right now. I don't think either of them really has a path to doing that successfully, and it doesn't achieve the bigger goal, which is taking some pressure off Karthik, which I think that's right, Isaac.
Well, that's a good pitch. Let's see if the players can hear it in hindsight.
In order for that to happen, you would have liked to. Yeah, it doesn't happen. I mean, you would have liked to see Turkey put an army in Khan so they could go to Bull while going to Ionian, and then potentially be in a position to take Naples and Greece here.
Yeah, or you just drop into Ionian now.
Yeah, which we did not do because we're going to go take Moscow. Okay.
Yep. Which you could have done. Which could be done anyway.
Yeah, I mean, this is not helping the case here. And Micah is now in North Atlantic, which makes sense. Belgium is now open because Karthik needs to be in position to protect everything else. These are great moves by Karthik, by the way. The move to Portugal is such a position that people just forget about how great having a fleet in Portugal
Really important.
It's so critical to holding a line like this, and I mean, you need the fleet in NAO, I guess. So that is the right move because now this line is completely set up, and Zoe is 100% stalemated.
Yeah. Yes, Johnny, he was. He absolutely was, and he did take credit for a great set of orders.
These are, I mean, I think we should highlight I mean, it's there's a bunch of guesses in the South, but these are just beautiful guesses by Karthik, and if he guesses wrong here, right, he's going to be in a position where he can't retake Marseille, but he does it right, and just really well done, and now the line is set.
Yeah, the only way this works for Zoe is if Lyon goes in, which is a terrible position.
Right.
But sometimes to win, you gotta be a little bold, right? So.
Well, it creates a really awkward position for everybody if you go in from Lyon, because then Karthik's in Lyon, but he's also lost Spain. It's really awkward. But might be better for Zoe because at least gives her some shot of advancing.
Well, we know, but with the benefit of hindsight, but isn't the best move for Zoe here Lyon to Spain with support from Western Med?
Well, the best move is
that would have worked, right?
Tunis to Ionian and some other things withdrawing, but
Yeah,
but the best move against Karthik.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only guaranteed push, right? But that doesn't help the line. Munich could have tapped Burgundy, so Burgundy would have supported Marseille. Munich possibly could have tapped it too, so this set of orders frees up Karthik from that one. The other interesting is Berlin in their final order, which not necessarily Russia could walk out, but Piff's Warsaw on the retreat to really throw Austria back. You lose such a forward army like that is crushing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and it was one of those. It was a game of chicken there because I think they both could only go to Prussia.
Yes, that is 100% correct. So, but could he have gone off the board? He knows I'm out of the game. I could just go off the board and help Austria, but he decided on the way out to squash him. So, all right, fall 1904 position is set up. That is back in Warsaw, Moscow, and Moscow is certainly seemingly lost. St. Pete's still open with Micah, Denmark both being bordered, though. What's what is Adam, you have the West. What's if you're gonna crush this game as Micah, what are you stabbing Ed right now?
I'm not even sure it's a stab, to be
Well-
honest with you, right? I mean, I think it's if you're asking, am I taking Denmark and St. Pete right here? I don't. I mean, there's not a huge downside to doing that, I think.
You've got to take St. Pete at least.
Yeah, I don't think there's any downside. Norway to St. Pete, Bothnia supports that. North to Denmark. I mean, maybe you don't move north to. Maybe you don't take Denmark because you don't want to leave north open because you want to be able to set up to convoy next turn. But certainly, you're going to take St. Pete.
I mean, if you have Russia on side, you can just take Denmark with the army
from Kiel.
From Kiel, and then support Holland into Kiel.
You could do it that way for sure. It leaves you with an army in Denmark and nothing in Baltic because that Russian fleet gets pulled. Or maybe you just leave Denmark and you take it next year. You got time. I mean, I'm not sure you need to build two here. So I might just take St. Pete and leave Denmark for the moment. I think there's better options, right? You can go Holland to Ruhr, try to make your play on Munich if Darcy doesn't surround it, get the extra army around it.
And then
yeah,
since we talked about the stalemate in the south, does Zoe have to turn around? Do you try one more gamble at it?
There's nothing to try, right? Portugal supports Spain, Gascony supports Marseille. I mean, that's it. And
now supports Mao.
Now supports Mao. I mean, there's no gamble here.
So this would lead to AT maybe putting an attack on, and maybe Zoe sees it and turns around.
AT's positioned themselves in such a way that they can't really do an effective attack. Like maybe Venice and Greece, but you can't really follow it up with anything because you've moved out of position.
Yeah. And then they three-way bounce in Bulgaria. But Zoe pulling back maybe helps Karthik free up to fight north.
Yeah.
Well, I think she has to pull back here. I mean, it's the right call. The question is, does what does Karthik do from this position? Is Karthik's not building, right? And Micah is. Yeah.
So St. Pete goes, like you guys mentioned, was the better one to do. Keep the Bothnian army useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have Denmark in pocket anyway.
All right. So that gets us through fall 1904. Micah building on a straight line again. Simone +2. That's right, because had the one in pocket from last time. Let's hear the sideline first, and then discuss Eastern builds to see what could be next.
Welcome back, everyone. Enjoying the show? Let's have you enjoy it more with this 1904 sideline report. I'll start off in the East here for spring. So Darcy, he got Warsaw Munich last year, but he's already really concerned about losing those gains because of how far forward E, F, and R suddenly are in places like in awkward spots like Livonia and Silesia. So he's really just trying to figure out the tactics for how to mitigate that. Zoe's also super nervous about Simone's move to Aegean, which, as far as I saw, was not discussed with her at any point. It was discussed with Darcy, naturally, but she's a bit skittish about that. But she still doesn't want to bounce Ionian or anything that would prevent her fleets from moving further west against Karthik. So she's willing to put her trust in Simone for the time being, even though Greece really is hanging in the breeze. We'll see if that works out. Darcy also went for a defensive move set around Munich in the end. He decided to support hold it instead of helping Zoe guarantee Marseille by tapping Burgundy. This is going to have some knock-on effects. But he does agree to be a bit more aggressive with his Warsaw unit. He's going to cut Livonia to get Simone into Moscow, since that's a more retakeable dot. Darcy breaks off to chat with Karthik later on, and Ed comes in to talk to Zoe. He just lectures her really about how much they need to kill Simone, because again, this is a witches game, blah blah blah. You're gonna you're going to die eventually because you don't have any growth. Where's your next dot? He also suggests that Darcy is getting too big at this point, and IT would still be preferable to the status quo, but Zoe still isn't really biting at any of it.
All right. Well, in the West, there's a long EFR discussion about how to counter the AIT, whether to put Ed into Warsaw or Berlin. Micah doesn't want to kill Ed immediately, wants to try and keep him alive as a reward and to thank him for the help he's giving. So Ed is like, all right, I'll go to Berlin and to Warsaw. We'll try and do both. Elsewhere, there's a talk between Micah and both Simon and then later Zoe about taking down Karthik. And Micah's like, well, if I attack France, isn't the Italian just going to send all their fleets against me? Isn't this really bad for me? So it doesn't seem like Micah's convinced to do that. All three in the West are sort of agreeing that the game is now just waiting for when Simon drops the hammer on AI, and that there's been a real lack of top board experience from the Eastern players.
Yeah, we see a similar trend going into the fall turn. So there's some tactical developments. Darcy is going full doomer mode again about losing Munich. Zimon again offering a bit of advice and support to retake Warsaw initially. But they're running out of things to talk about. The conversation really slows down, kind of goes off topic. I think it slowly feels like an air of resignation is going into the AIT group chat as they realize that, Micah's a real big problem right now for all of them in terms of how big she can grow. But they don't really know what to do at this point to actually stop her now that Ed is fully helping her top at any cost. Micah later comes in to say she's had separate DM proposals to stab Karthik from all of AIT this turn. They've all been talking to her separately without really discussing it directly with each other. She offers to have them come to Brandenburg and talk about it more, but none of them actually take her up on that this time. They propose a bunch of fake stab ideas to trick the West into fighting. One of them is suggested they fake stab Darcy where Zimon doesn't support Darcy back into Warsaw, so he loses that and Munich, and then IT look like they're going to go in on him. But Darcy is absolutely unwilling to do anything that compromises his ability to keep those dots, and now he's suddenly concerned that Zimon won't support him back into Warsaw, and that's getting him pretty paranoid. He feels like Zimon having two builds in pocket while Darcy's suddenly struggling just for the sake of a bit is not going to be conducive to him recovering and actually having a decent position. Zimon's internet conveniently cuts out while they're having that conversation, while Darcy is airing his objections. And that leads Darcy to snap a little bit and tell me while we're alone in the room, I'm getting screwed here, Patrick. I'm getting screwed over here. Micah notices that Zimon dropped out of the chat and comes in to talk to Darcy. And Darcy vents the same stuff to her. Micah at least confirms that Warsaw is going to Silesia to protect Berlin and help get Munich so he can take Warsaw back. Obviously, Micah is trying to keep Darcy in a position where he's strong enough to prevent Zimon from exploding, but also not strong enough in Germany to prevent EF growth.
Yeah, in the fall, in the West, it's just more EFR talks. They're in a room by themselves for a long time. Karthik has the stalemate line position against Zoe now, and basically says he hopes that now that there's a stalemate line there, AI will come to their senses. Ed thinks that Zimon's going to stab now, but Micah thinks Zimon is far more patient than that and won't stab for 2 or 3 more years. So it's really on whether AI turn around or not. Late on, Zoe comes to Karthik and asks if she pulls back, will Karthik attack Micah, or is that bridge burnt for good? Karthik says that, of course, he'd do that. Micah's the only way he can get any builds. He's never getting any builds from a free fleet Italy that doesn't just enable Turkey to grow even more. But he needs Zoe to be a full year away from being able to move back on him rather than just one turns back. Zoe doesn't seem overly thrilled by this, but Karthik is pretty adamant that you have to go the whole way back. Only a partial withdrawal will not be enough.
Yeah, we've had a lot of information from both the two of us and some others that are helping us about all the cross-board talks the Karthik's having. We haven't been able to cover all of them for time's sake, but the long story short is he still claims he wants to win, but what's he going to do about that from this position? So thank you, Mikalis. Let's go back to the studio.
Yeah, those guys hit it spot on. From 1902 until this point, there were 2 conversations being had. It was whatever the alliance was, 3 of them in the east or west, whether in the east, whether it was AIR or AIT, and EF, and Robert was by. I think Robert was by himself for more than half the game, and it was they heard most of it. The DMs were the items that they didn't get, so they had most of it. What you hear is what was going on.
Well, moving on Italy, AT moving on Italy just got a whole lot harder, for sure, right? And so the question is, what does Karthik do now? And how does the East shake out now that Zoe has fleets with not a whole lot to do with them?
Yeah, because the thing you want to pitch here is IT, but you've got 3 fleets. That makes any sort of world of an IT pretty difficult to sell turkey on.
Well, I mean, you need something to do with those fleets, and it's going to take you another year to get anything into the Adriatic, and you still probably want to have some stuff to be holding up France. It's not the right position for Italy to be doing a whole lot against Austria here.
Yeah.
Karthik had been very vocal for at least the 2 this year. When I hopped into some of the conversations and got the notes, he goes, "What can I do? I can't fight. Mike is stronger. 2 centers up, has been 2 centers up for 02, 04. Because I can't fight. I can't fight her without you guys, and you guys being on my tail. So those messages were very, very direct." All right, so we got Simone has +2. Darcy has another +1. Isaac, your pitch about taking out Italy. There's still 6 potential years in the game. Is it still plausible?
It's hard. Yeah,
hard right now.
It's hard without Karthik helping you, which you probably don't get, because if Karthik helps you, then Zoe just turns all of her units right back around.
Yep.
So you can't take Venice. The thing about last year that made it nice was even in the fall, it wasn't great, but you could at least just walk into Venice and Greece, although Venice would have been bounced. But now, what can you really do? You can't really take anything with enough force to actually cause a problem for Italy.
Well, Army Trieste, right? Marseille.
It's going to be Vienna, not Trieste.
Yeah.
And Marseille will never tap Piedmont from this position, because then Zoe goes, right, back to Lyon, back to Western Med, back to North Africa.
Yeah. Army Vienna. The question is, what does Turkey build? Probably at least 1 army, maybe 2 armies, maybe 1 army and wave.
I think you can get away with a fleet here, given Zoe moving back.
Maybe.
Let's see it.
2 fleets. Okay, we're going. We're doing it. We're doing that.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Vienna was right.
And
how much better would it have been for Simone, though, if he had built an army last turn and taken Greece and Naples?
Built a fleet last turn and taken.
Or built a fleet last turn
Greece.
and taken Greece and Naples. Sure. Yeah, probably even better. You're right.
Yeah.
All right, to 1905. Let's see what happens in the south more than the east at this point. There's a lot of movement.
I don't get Sev to Rum supported by Black. Why? I mean, and I also don't get Darcy pulling. I don't. This is like a failed diplomatic turn in the East. This is massively failed, because the AT should not have broken up here. I just don't see what benefit that does to anybody.
Yeah.
I am completely befuddled by Darcy turning around. I'm befuddled by Simone attacking Romania here. This just doesn't make any sense to me. Isaac, what do you make of that?
The Romania thing you can kind of make sense of, right? You can say, we've got these armies, Galicia, Romania, Black Step, they're sort of just sitting here awkwardly, not doing anything. So let's stage a 2 strength bounce. That way, neither of us can sort of attack the other effectively. But all the rest of the moves, like if you're Darcy,
sure, if that's an agreed upon 2-on-2, fine.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
Galicia,
whatever.
Romania, Sev Black. but the rest. If you're Darcy here, you should be walking into Trieste rather than from Vienna rather than Budapest.
Right, that's right. That's right. I
and
walking
pushing
out
up
of
to Fred in Berlin.
Walking out of Munich, I mean, I just don't get it.
Well, Munich was lost no matter what. What you probably do is you try and go fight into Berlin from it.
Right. I don't get it.
Yeah.
All right.
And here comes Karthik's fleets, not attacking Micah. Notice.
Yeah.
Not attacking Micah. And there is Micah making the move.
Denmark, Belgium, Berlin.
And North Atlantic, taking Belgium, taking Berlin.
Propping Darcy up a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, it's hard to imagine Belgium being agreed upon here. Karthik wants a build, I would assume. So
yeah. What did Baltic do? Sorry.
Baltic is supporting is it convoying Kiel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gave Ed a lifeline. Kiel was open, and so if Ed ordered to self-bounce.
Well, but Ed was never going to order that here, right? I mean, yeah. I think he probably convoying to Prussia, probably.
Let's see, where is? Oh yeah, kill to Prussia. Yep.
Yeah. Well, this is +3 for Micah. I mean, I think this is probably it. I mean, getting Darcy and Simone to fight just.
There's that, but there's also Karthik going into the med rather than actually turning around.
That helps too. Yeah.
All right, let's hear sidelines 1905. There was some good bits in this one that describes why these orders happened as such.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We've got a 1905 sideline report for you today. McCallus, Robert is gone, but Karthik and Micah are still here. What are they doing?
Well, 1905 starts off with Ed proposing a draw that Zimon publicly vetoes, but it quickly devolves into the Micah show in the West again. Zimon comes to them as very despondent that AI are stabbing him. He feels like Darcy has no interest in working with him against Zoe, and he pitches an EFT to take down AI. Once Micah leaves, Zimon talks to Karthik if there's any way to stop Micah winning. Karthik points out that Micah's essentially on 10 dots already with Ed in her pocket, and he would lose any sort of one-on-one fight with her. He feels his only chance really is to get Micah overcommitted to the east so that he can stab later, and pitches him and Zimon taking down Italy. Neither of them feel very optimistic at this point of the game, though.
Yeah, that about tracks with what's going on elsewhere. In the East, we've got my notes page crashing. I have to refresh it. Crap. There we go. All right. The main point of contention, of course, is Zoe's complete turnaround and Zimon's fleet builds. The understanding is that the fleet builds were more a reaction to Zoe doing that than anything else. Darcy's not really sure what to do about it in the midst of all this, at least at first. He feels like a bit of a passenger since most of this was discussed elsewhere. Zimon, of course, having those talks with Karthik and then all this stuff happening. He thinks, though, that Zimon is more of a threat to him and that he should go after Turkey and work with Zoe. Darcy also chats with Micah this turn. That is a really big, long thing that we'll come back to in the fall as well. He wants support into Moscow, he's really trying to emphasize that, hey, I'm losing Munich. Zimon is a way bigger threat here to potentially catch up to you. Can you help me, deal with him? Micah isn't really sure what to do in that situation. She tries to downplay the strength of her position a bit when Darcy talks about just how crazy overwhelming she is in terms of her position. But over time, it becomes clear that Darcy really believes that he cannot beat Micah and that he'd be happy with second for the sake of DD&I points. And Micah says she'll go into position to do that in the fall by moving into Livonia. So she seems to be coming around to the idea that Darcy is the better partner to work with here rather than the EFT idea that Karthik and Zimon were working on.
Yeah, I mean, in full, there's another sort of EFRT chat going on where Ed says, "Hey, you guys can put me into Warsaw. I can get back into the game while Micah takes my Denmark behind." So there's an agreement for Micah to convoy Kiel to Prussia. Zimon is pushing for this as well. But once Micah leaves and Karthik goes off, Ed and Zimon have a long sort of conversation where it's basically just saying that the East have played really poorly, that none of them understand Italy or Austria's play, and that Micah is almost certainly going to win. Ed thinks that Zimon still has a chance, but Zimon thinks his only chance really is if Karthik stabs Micah and Micah decides that she wants Zimon to win, which he thinks Micah's position is too good for that to happen anyway.
Yeah, really, the East is all about two conversations. The first one is Karthik and Zoe talking about, what their southern fleets are doing, whether it's really beneficial for either of them to be fighting each other right now. Zoe keeps saying she needs to worry about Greece and that Karthik fighting her just ensures that he'll finish in third instead of second or maybe first if he goes after Micah. Zoe in desperation, offers to give Karthik Tunis the following year, but says she can't afford to go down 2 right now because of the Turkish fleets. And of course, she's still worried that Karthik is just unwilling to stab Micah in any situation. Zoe also throws out at the end that she will fully throw to Turkey if France builds south from Munich. So we'll have to see what happens to that. But the main thing really was the talk between Micah and Darcy again. It was an extension of the previous talk. Again, Darcy's talking about, really, trust me, I'm happy with second. I just want to deal with Zimon and get the DBNI points. And I'm more than happy to, and I think you have a really good stab on Karthik, so you should take that instead. So Micah actually did have the orders in to convoy to Prussia and do all the stuff with Ed that Michaelis mentioned, but over time she was turned around and got a 3-dot infusion instead from Ed's remaining stuff and also Belgium. So it looks like Karthik might be on his way down the drain here in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it feels very much like everyone knows Micah's won, and the recriminations have already begun.
Pretty much. Pretty early for that, but that's where we are right now. That's 1905. Back to the studio.
Halfway home, and we're already halfway to the end. What?
No, I'd say more than halfway.
Adam, any hope for continued play past this?
I mean, I wouldn't even be shocked to see this game draw. There's just no willpower to change the result at this point. I mean, Zoe has got to be just saying, like, Karthik's the one person who could be attacking Micah. He's not doing it, so I'm not motivated. Simon is now fighting Austria. He's just bogged down. Is he really going to come out ahead over there? In that position? No. Darcy, it sounds like, diplomatically realizes that he's not in this. I don't know. It just feels like there's no willpower to get this figured out.
The other big issue is the lead, right? Because even if Simon does do everything perfectly, everything goes exactly the way it should, and all the tactics work, he still has to go up 6 because of tiebreak. He still has to get 6 dots in order to win. And that's assuming Micah doesn't get any additional dots, by the way.
Yeah. The math is not working in his favor.
And based on the recent diplomatic discussions, A and T are not working together. There would not be a throw, because of a great alliance.
And these builds from Micah are basically saying, okay, this game is over. I mean, these are the builds that send that message. Nothing to see here. Yeah. This is done.
I don't remember in the sideline report if they said it, but there was a draw proposal in spring 05. I think Ed proposed it. And I think Simone publicly vetoed. There was a public veto, so there was no vote in spring 05. There was a proposal in spring 1906. It did go to a vote. I did listen in on the votes, and there was a couple of negative commenters. I did not stick around for the votes themselves. The vote failed in spring 1906. So there are orders to be read, Adam.
Okay. So Micah advances her fleets, gets bounced out of the English Channel. but kicks Karthik out of Munich. Karthik is showing no interest whatsoever in trying to stop Micah because there's nothing. Going for Tunis is not. I think
Token interest.
What's that?
But not enough. You're showing token interest, right, with Channel and
Yeah, I
Pickety, but
mean,
not enough.
Not enough. Yeah, I mean, not even trying to send another fleet back to mid. I mean, he knows he's going to get bounced from English Channel, I guess, but still attacking Zoe here. Rather, this is just not going. And Austria continues to attack. Turkey kicks them out of Sev, sends their armies all down south to be able to take Bulgaria or Greece. I guess everybody is fishing for second. There's some people fishing for second place, and that may be why the draw failed, not because somebody thinks they can beat Micah, but because Darcy thinks he can take another 2 or 3 dots, which is going to either help him in second place in this tournament or DBNI points or something like that. But I think that
Darcy presumably won't have been this veto because he was already second.
I don't know how that affects his overall. Maybe
Yeah.
his overall tournament position will go up if he gets more.
Oh,
points.
maybe.
Yeah, I don't know, but he's the only one who I could think of having any reason to vote this down. And again, it's not to win the tournament because I don't think he. I mean, maybe he thinks he's got a shot. He can get Sev, Bulgaria, Greece. That would put him at 10. I mean, maybe he does still think he has a shot if something changes elsewhere. So I guess I can't fault too much if he wants to play this out a little bit further. I don't think he can come out ahead, but yeah.
I suppose if Karthik turned around, it was a conversation, whereas now it's very much not.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Mid-Atlantic is, well, no, it's not. But he's got to cover Spain. Now he's got to cover Spain, though. So, but Zoe's getting attacked from Turkey. Greece finally goes through. There was some conversation in the fall. France and Turkey were discussing orders. France and Italy were discussing France and Turkey's orders about what cover. There was all three of them. AIT had gotten together, and it sounded like the whole 1905 ploy was a decoy. Like, oh, we're going to pretend like we're fighting. We're not actually going to fight.
I don't think that was a decoy, Kevin. I think it was just people not having their stuff together. It didn't sound. I mean, it didn't sound like a decoy from the sideline. I think that I don't think anybody wanted to do decoys. I think people just had these different ideas about what needed to happen on the board.
But that was everyone had good thoughts and good ideas about plans, but the execution, I think, as Ed mentioned in the fall 1904 sideline, it wasn't there. The plan never got carried out. Yeah. Everyone wanted to be an ally with a friend, wanted to work together. They just couldn't translate it into, into action.
Yeah.
Okay, so this gets through spring 06. Here's the position.
Yeah.
In fall 06.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So there was second vote did happen. No one even in the commentary. No one even in the commentary had any.
Dominant game by Micah. I think this was just a game that she dominated through and through from spring 1901 through the end. There was never any question that she was in the driver's seat from the opening of the game in those negotiations between Robert and Karthik. She was in the driver's seat from there. She took control early on, and she never let up. Foot on the gas the whole time, made good decisions, worked with Ed in the north, keeping allies on her side of the board, keeping people fighting on the other side of the board, resolving things in her sphere, while the other side could just never get it together and never make the right decisions around when and how to break up that triple alliance. Really,
sometimes with it being her fault. See Denmark, see Moscow, where she went, I know you might stabilize, but what if I just destabilized you a little bit?
Absolutely. Making those smart moves, turn and turn again, leaving Russia with the right units and then taking them down the right time. Just, I would say it's hard to ever call something a perfectly played game, but this is about as close as it gets. I mean, this was just a beautifully played game by Micah.
Well, we will let you both repeat those congratulations as we bring champion Micah Blom to the screen. Congratulations.
Hello.
Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a really exciting game and so much was happening.
Was it as easy as it looked?
Well, I will say this was one of the boards where I felt a little less pressure and like I could collapse at any moment, but because just how everyone was positioned, there was not really someone that could attack me. But I was afraid of Karthik and of Simon mainly for quite long, especially because I know Simon is a very patient player. He tends to not really stab until like maybe 1907, 1908 or later. And I could see that if Italy moves back, Karthik goes to me, and maybe Simon takes his chances there, that maybe something could be happening. But overall, I felt quite comfortable this game, yeah.
Do you think that there was anything around that triple that just, it just it needed to break earlier, right? In order for something to change, and it just never did. And then when it finally did break, it was broken the wrong way at the wrong time, right? So
Yes.
how were you able to influence that as the game went on? Because I'm sure that you had your stamp on all of that happening.
Yes, definitely. I mean, there were some interesting things going on. For example, for the first 3 years, I kept trying to talk to Zoe, but she was so busy with everyone, so I just couldn't talk to her, which just solidifies my alliance with Karthik. I think very early on it was very clear that there was an EF, and AIT is just not a great response to an EF. I was in the beginning very much in doubt, like, am I going to go work with Germany or with France here? But because I could get Germany to go to Munich and I told friends like, hey, go to Ruhr, we'll have a good position. And I got Ed on board. At that point, it was a very good alliance to play. And I think the East probably could have utilized Ed a bit more, both in maybe having formed an earlier air, or not being so obvious about being an AIT, because we noticed immediately. I say, okay, Ed, I'll support you into Denmark. I'll give you all the dots and go defend for as long as you can, which is really advantage me and Karthik. So I think the East should not have gone so full in on Karthik, but they also should just not really have been such an obvious AIT. They were constantly talking in chats with the three of us, so it was very clear that that was what's happening.
Trying to think of the most critical move as we saw tactics wise. It broke, as you mentioned, AIT was together a lot. You and Karthik were together a lot. It was more of a Isaac introduced the game as a diplomatic choice, but it turned out to be more tactical and strategical. Would you argue with me on that?
Yes, I disagree with that one. Obviously, there's tactics involved. You're playing a board game and you are in the West. The West is just tactical, but I actually let Karthik do a lot of the tactics. And a lot of what I did was more saying like, "Hey, Robert, you should go to Munich. I think maybe Karthik's going there. You should go there." And then going over to Karthik and saying, "You should go to Ruhr because then you might get in." And Karthik said in the beginning in an EF, long term he wanted to be in Belgium and Berlin. I felt like in an EF I should get Berlin long term. So then I thought I really need to have Russia on side so that I can have Russia in that area so that France doesn't grow too much. And there was a lot of that going on. At some point France asked for Belgium and I was fairly sure I would get 1 or 2 builds that turn. But I wasn't 100% sure, so I could just tell them like, don't take it now, maybe take it next turn, but I first want to know for sure that I get the builds. When really I don't need the builds that much in this position, but what I do need is that there's not Fleet Brest Army Paris. So I think a lot of that, like, yes, we played a tactical game, you have to move through the line, but I think that's not what I won this on. I think that was more some diplomatic choices I made, and also just the rest of the board not countering it in a very good way. Because Karthik really didn't have a chance with Italy being so close.
It was striking to me in this game how, unlike many top boards that I've either played on or observed, there was no balance of power play at all on this game. This was, I mean, the balance of power was the balance of Micah. It was not a let's and it was long term alliances. I'm hesitant to use the word strategic because I'm not sure how strategic the AIT was, but in the long term, at least, it made sense very early on. There really wasn't a willingness to play more dynamically in order to contain the leader or contain, whether that's the center-based leader or the tactical, the strategic leader in terms of position. I mean, you really never had any pressure from anyone the entire game, right? And that is so counter to how so many top boards play out, right? I mean, how did you feel about that?
I felt great about that. No, but I think something really essential was that France couldn't do anything, and I did moves like moving to Clyde to make sure that they also weren't tempted. Because I think that made it much harder for them to, even if Italy moves away, to then do that, and that's what we heard later on. That was fun to hear in the sideline reports that was also one of Karthik's considerations. I feel like everyone in the East after the game reflected a lot, and they all agreed that they did not play this well strategically. But while in the game and in that alliance, there also didn't seem to be other really good opportunities. Because if someone did step, how do you know Friends is not just gonna run over everything, or that Friends and I keep working together? I mean, Karthik and I had said in the beginning, like, either you are gonna win or I'm gonna win, but it's not gonna be the East that's gonna win.
Yeah.
And I think they all didn't feel like they could do that. I thought at the end, actually, if Darcy decided he was against me and found a partner in the East and Karthik goes against me, he might have a shot, but he didn't feel like that. He felt like this was the best he could play it. And something that's also not to underestimate is that there's a lot of players here who have not played a lot of top boards. I think a lot of players that are a bit more experienced think like, this is a top board, either you're number one or you have lost. Here is a bit more players who also feel like, whoa, I got second on the top board. That's so cool. When I played my first top board last year, I also felt that way. And I know that's not how players look at it, but that's something that I think maybe plays in a bit as well. Or if you don't have the confidence to go for it, then everyone at the end felt like there wasn't really something possible anymore.
A top board is already a very different environment and very stressful, especially if you haven't done it before. So I think it's worth again double highlighting the impact that will have on players and how people play.
Definitely.
Well, congratulations. You finished as the number one seed heading into the top board, and you topped that off with the win on the top board. So congratulations. We've got the schedule showing down below. It sounded like, I think when we last talked, you've got a couple of diplomacy events on your calendar coming up. So the Europeans will look forward to seeing you there, and we look forward to having you back on DBN in the near future.
Thank you very much. And thanks for the commentary. And lastly, I would just like to thank Michalis. This is such a big event. Also all the sideline reporters and DBN, of course, but Michalis really does this all on his own. Like, he did find some GMs, but he does so much, and I think he did a great job once again.
Well played and well said. So congrats, Micah.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Excellent. Thank you for joining us, Micah. And definitely, she stole our first thunder and praise for the post-game report of thanking Michalis. He did all the organizing this year. He did the winter, the VDC as well. I know Johnny did it, I think last summer. So the group in the, let me put that media asset back up here, up there. Yep, that way I got the pointing down now. Go there. It's great. There's leagues. Ben Kelman does pickup games. They once a month or two, just whenever 7 people want to get together. If you're living in the middle of a state or outside of a major metropolitan area where you don't have 7 people that can easily play the game, come out here and say, hey, I'd love to host. I'd love to organized. I'd love to get 7 people together. Christian Brown, who
There,
was in one of our games earlier, he does that all the time. He's always, bouncing off Tim Crosby. You see those players in the the English league, in the VDL. If you like the game, if you're new to us on DBN, we're going to promote it, all the time. The VWDC is not our server, but we work with them. It's a great place to play, and there's others out there too.
There's at least 3 or 4 virtual games a month, at least 1 or 2 of which will be conducive to your time zone, and that's on top of any sort of pickup games or tournaments that happen. So there is constant games. There's basically a game every weekend, and if there isn't, someone will find something.
VDL next weekend, we're going to be talking about extended deadlines. So the Nexus Press Leagues, they play Gunboat, they play longer term games. So if you can't make it to a 6 or 7 hour game, that's out there. The Snake Pit is the Australian league time zone wise. So like you said,
the Snake Pit also recently just added a round to better cater to the Pacific coast on, I believe, Saturday evening, but don't quote me on that. So if you were in the Pacific, but the time didn't work for you because it started too late, double check it, because it's now Saturday morning Australian, Saturday evening Pacific. And just for anyone new, because we sort of get these terms that we all start just throwing around, gunboat games are where you just play with the moves on the board rather than any sort of negotiation going on.
Yeah, usually can knock those games out in like an hour and a half, maybe ish. So much faster. Good for tactics. I know it's diplomacy, David Hood. It's diplomacy, but you got to know how to push the pieces. So, Adam, final thoughts on the games we covered?
I mean, we only covered a small subset of the prelim games, and we obviously the really exciting top board. But I think this was a super successful tournament, right? We probably had like 50-ish players, and like I don't know how many boards there were over the 7 rounds, but I think it was a pretty sizable tournament, right? And just a huge success to McCallus and the whole VWDC team. We really have to just throw a lot of appreciation towards McCallus and the other folks who are doing organizing for this. Isaac, I know you're one of them, and it's just amazing that the reason that there's so much diplomacy out there and so much available opportunities to play is because we have such dedicated folks who are willing to go and give up so much of their own time to making these things happen. It doesn't happen in a vacuum, and it's not, these things don't just appear. So that's really awesome. It's so great that it was such a successful tournament and very deserving winner on our top board. That was very exciting and great to cover.
Isaac, you played. What's your thoughts on the event?
It's a great event. It's really great for people who want to play diplomacy but sort of don't have the time to be able to dedicate to it in their regular lives, because it's just so packed into these couple of days. And the other thing I will say is it, alongside the whole virtual scene, is really, really good for those of you who are on budgets. As someone who used to be a student and has only recently been employed, it's very much appreciated that I don't have to spend very much money to play this game. But with that being said, I will slightly throw it back to face and say that face-to-face hobby, we must reluctantly acknowledge its existence and say that it also exists and can, I know, even be fun. So like, we have to, virtual is a great way to start. And if you've been doing virtual and you want more, then look up face-to-face, because there will usually be some local-ish, and by local I mean like less than like only one plane ride away, tournaments near you.
Yeah, but the growth has been great. We've seen it in Germany, a couple face-to-face, the North American hobby, both in-house board game clubs. We've been doing a league here in Chicago for almost 20 years now. So you'll find the right number to play, whether it's online or in person. My final thanks again to McCallus for hosting as well, but him and Patrick taking the lead on the sideline coverage. Great as always. We love those insights. So thank you so much for spending your time doing that. My thanks to you guys. This did not come together easily for a broadcast today. You can see the tech issues that I kicked my foot on a
Is
couple
it
of
really
times.
a DVN stream if you don't have tech issues?
I pride myself in perfection. I'm so bad at the game. I try to make the broadcasts look as good as they can. And so when I can't even do that, then I'm no help to the community. So I appreciate everyone's patience with that. I think we got most of the commentary in. So no, seriously, thanks guys for joining me this morning for Adam and I, afternoon for you, Isaac. Join in next week for League Night. Saturday night, evening, North American time, usually 8 or 8:30 Eastern time. I know overnight for
and
Europeans,
1 a.m. if you're insane and live in Europe.
Yep, or McCallus, who's usually up commenting on those as well. So we will see you next week.
McCallus is included in the insane and lives in Europe category.
Yep. He's beyond insane though. I think he's round the clock, but we appreciate him. So we'll see you next week and join in for the next Game Day Live, which will be some coverage of Boston Massacre. Subscribe, like the video. I don't think we bugged everyone about liking the video. And we will see you the next time. For that one, stay safe and stab well.